Chapter 827. Underworld? Never heard of it. Since he is not from the Nether Temple, then it is easy to deal with him. That person immediately spoke with killing intent. Emperor of Fengdu? What a big name. Remember, the one who will kill you is the shocking dragon Sword King. This person suddenly stabbed out with his sword. Endless heavenly dragons' roar shook 1,000 li. The sword flipped, and the heavenly dragon swung its tail. In an instant, the dragon's roar was about to destroy Lung Shiqi. However, Lung Shiqi's expression did not change. He did not even move. The others thought that he was scared silly. That shocking dragon Sword King's mouth also curled up into a sinister smile. However, just as the sword dragon was roaring, a Buddhist chant was heard. Umitba. The Buddhist chant was not loud, but it contained a strange rhythm, as if it could communicate with the heaven and earth. The heavens and the earth twisted, and the shocking sword dragon actually collapsed with a bang. A figure bathed in Buddhist light walked out. He is Master Tu Deng. Tu Deng is not wearing underworld attire because his identity is too easy to recognize. His appearance caused shocking dragon Sword King's expression to turn heavy. He did not notice Tu Deng's existence earlier, and Tu Deng was able to easily destroy his sword dragon. This means that Tu Deng's strength is definitely above his. Also, the Buddhist technique that Tu Deng used was incomparably mystical. It is also unheard of. Lord Shocking Dragon. He is the leader of Buddhism, Tu Deng. Buddhism is indeed colluding with that traitor Kaluo. Gus recognized Tu Deng and spoke with hatred. So, it is you who created Buddhism. At this moment, another heaven origin realm spoke. He is an old man with a goatee. From his words, he seems to be interested in Buddhism. Do you really want to stand against us? I admit that you are very strong, perhaps stronger than any one of the three of us. However, you are alone. Why do you insist? Why don't you join Consecration Hall? We can make Buddhism the national religion of Zhulu country. Tu Deng remained silent. He clasped his hands together, and Buddhist light soared into the sky behind him. An immovable wisdom king appeared and expressed his answer. Fight! Ignorant! Finally, the heaven origin stage cultivator shouted coldly. Qing Lin, there's no need for you to waste words with him. Anyone who dares to interfere with the throne of Zhulu country is courting death. The vital energy of heaven and earth around him suddenly exploded, and the divine light above his head drove away the darkness. His hands formed a seal, and suddenly divine light bloomed. It was clearly a dazzling light, but it made people feel as if the sky had darkened. However, at this moment, a purple light floated out. That purple light was like a small boat in the middle of a monstrous wave. It looked like it could capsize at any time. However, what was surprising was that the purple light did not disappear. On the contrary, it grew stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, there was only a glaring purple light left in this space. He suddenly let out a strange cry. Others didn't know what was going on, but he knew that his divine light had been swallowed by the purple light at the beginning. For someone to be able to do this, how strong was he? Shen Xiao, what's going on? Startling Dragon Sword King asked anxiously. Divine Firmament, or rather, Venerable Divine Firmament, looked as if he was facing a great enemy. He shouted into the air, "Which export is here? Show yourself." TSK, TSK, TSK. A mighty person from the royal family's hall of worship only has this much courage? Don't be nervous. 9 Leave appeared strangely with the Ghost Emperor Yao Yi mask. The three immediately frowned. They realized that 9 Leave's aura was very strange. It had the netherworld aura of the Lung Shiqi and the demonic aura of the Loon Monkey and the rest. Who exactly is this person? Of course, what they were more concerned about was 9 Leave's strength. Although they hadn't really fought, being able to swallow Divine Firmament's divine light was enough for them to take him seriously. Most importantly, 9 Leave made them realize that it was very likely that they wouldn't be able to take down Princess Carol tonight. If Princess Carol only had Tu Deng, who was at the Divine Firmament realm, it would be fine. They could just surround and attack him. But now, there was another 9 leave, and he was very strong. The three of them might be able to defeat 2 Deng and 9 leave together, but it was basically impossible to kill them. It was more likely that the 5 of them were in a stalemate. If that was the case, Lung Shichi and the other rank 6 demonic beasts would be stronger than Gus, and the victory of this battle would be in Princess Carol's favor. Gus instantly thought of this, and his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He had never expected Princess Carol to be able to find 2 divine firmament realm cultivators. How did she do it? At the same time, Gus felt like he was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Although there were 3 divine firmament realm cultivators fighting against 2, it was a pity that there was no absolute suppression. On the other hand, Princess Carol's unity of heaven realm cultivators were far stronger than Gus's. As for spirit astral realm cultivators, they were somewhat insignificant in a battle of this level. This time, he had brought 99% of Zhu Lu country's strongest forces. If they still couldn't take down Princess Carol, there was no other way. From a certain point of view, everyone he brought was the pillar of Zhu Lu country. Most of them were the upper echelons of the various city lords, as well as the generals of the battle army. If they were to suffer heavy losses in this battle, then their vitality would be damaged. Now, it was even more impossible for Gus to retreat. In that case, he could only fight to the end. He transmitted a message to the 3. Lords, you can fight and then take advantage of the chaos to kill the traitor Carol. As long as she is dead, the traitor will have no reason to ascend the throne, and Zhu Lu country will naturally be stable. The 3 exchanged a look. They were divine firmament realm cultivators, and they really couldn't bring themselves to attack Princess Carol, who was only its spirit astral realm. But they also felt that Tooting and 9 leave were very difficult to kill. It was indeed difficult to kill them directly, so this was the only way. Brother Startling Dragon, for the stability of Zhu Lu country, this is the only way. Our reputation is nothing compared to that of Zhu Lu country. Shun Xiao and Qing Lin transmitted a message to each other. The Startling Dragon Sword King nodded his head imperceptibly. His body trembled as a heaven-shaking sword dragon condensed, resembling a gigantic sword that reached the heavens. Shen Xiao opened his arms. An endless divine light soaked the sky. His momentum rose to the extreme. As for Qing Lin, he directly transformed into a divine beast, Qilin, and his every move shook the earth. These 3 divine firmament realm cultivators were ready to go all out. The immovable Wisdom King behind, Tooting opened his eyes and locked onto Qing Lin. Countless purple lights scattered around 9 leave like meteors, shrouding Shen Xiao. As for Startling Dragon Sword King, he was still choosing whether to besiege Tooting or 9 leave first, but suddenly he felt a murderous intent. He turned to look, and the murderous intent actually came from the man who called himself the Emperor of Fengdu. Lung Shichi raised his head and looked straight at Startling Dragon Sword King. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. Suddenly, the gates of hell, full of death, the netherworld, and inauspiciousness loomed in a cloud of black gas. The Thousand Illusion Dao sword slashed out, and a sword immortal phantom stepped out. Immediately, Lung Shichi's divine soul came out of the sheath and integrated into the sword immortal phantom together with the countless souls of the mansion of hell. With one sword, ghosts and gods were shocked. Ghost God's Sword. Chapter 828. At first, the startling dragon sword monarch was filled with disdain when he saw that Lung Shichi actually dared to attack him. A mere Heavenman Unity cultivator was just a slightly stronger ant in his eyes. Daring to interfere in a battle between Heaven Origin cultivators was simply courting death. However, the startling dragon sword monarch was really shocked when he saw the demon sword monarch. Not only him, but even Divine Firmament, Qing Lin, and Gus widened their eyes. How could a Heavenman Unity cultivator be so powerful? A dragon-scale sword appeared in the startling dragon sword monarch's hand. Facing Lung Shichi, he had to use his sword. The moment he unsheathed his sword, a boundless aura instantly descended. His sword technique seemed to be able to stir the void, and a humongous sword dragon phantom that was thousands of feet long appeared like a god descending from the heavens. Although that sword dragon was an illusory existence, that boundless sharp sword intent was like a thorn in one's back, and it descended as if the sky was collapsing. The sword dragon's descent immediately caused the demon sword monarch to tremble, but the demon sword monarch mysteriously disappeared. When it reappeared, it actually directly pierced into the sword dragon's body. In that instant, countless netherworld sword auras erupted and tore the sword dragon into two from the inside. However, the demon sword monarch was finally exhausted. The startling dragon sword monarch was stunned. Even a heaven origin cultivator would not be able to easily block that sword attack, let alone a heaven origin cultivator. However, this Emperor of Feng Du did it. Supremacy Divine Firmament and Qing Lin, who were fighting fiercely, could not help but be surprised. Nine Leaves smiled strangely and suddenly split into thousands of illusory figures. With a flick of her fingers, purple light instantly filled the sky, everywhere in the sky and on the ground. Immediately after, a 1,000 feet long giant scorpion suddenly appeared. The giant scorpion opened its mouth and spat out a gust of green gas. That gas was like the nemesis of the divine firmament's supremacy's divine light. It was instantly sucked clean. Supremacy Divine Firmament's aura clearly weakened. He was shocked to discover that a portion of the divine light that he had cultivated for so many years had disappeared. He stared at Nine Leaf with wide eyes. "Who exactly are you?" "Humph. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me? Old brat, your luck isn't shallow either. You can actually use your soul force to draw in the essence energy of heaven and earth. Truly impressive." Following that, Nine Leaf teased, "But you met me. I can only say that your luck is bad." On the other side, Qing Lin, who was fighting with Tudong, had a bad feeling. The startling dragon sword monarch was being held back by a heaven-man unity cultivator, while the divine firmament supremacy was being suppressed by Nine Leaf. If this continued, they would definitely lose. He had to step up. The divine beast Qilin looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. In an instant, thunderclouds covered the sky. Countless green lightning bolts intertwined and collided, creating bursts of sparks. The power of lightning tore through space and attacked Tudong. However, Tudong didn't move at all. The immovable wisdom king statue behind him supported the sky with its arms, unmoving like a mountain. Chi-chi. Countless bolts of azure lightning struck the immovable wisdom king statue, emitting ear-piercing sounds of thunder. However, no matter how the lightning struck, the immovable wisdom king statue remained unmoved. Qing Lin's heart sank. He couldn't even break through Tudong's defense with his full strength. The startling dragon sword monarch didn't divert his attention to care about the divine firmament supremacy in Qing Lin. After his sword dragon was broken, the sword aura in his hand suddenly changed. It changed from the original majestic aura to the current ethereal and gentle aura. A dragon's roar reverberated in midair. Dark clouds covered the sky, and torrential rain poured down. A dragon could move the clouds and summon the rain, benefiting the common people. He could use his sword to transform into a dragon and shake the heavens and earth. He could also summon the clouds and summon the rain. However, the rain the startling dragon sword monarch summoned wasn't the sweet dew that benefited the common people. It was a sky full of sword aura that could take one's life. Lung Shichi's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. From the power of the startling dragon sword monarch's consecutive attacks, his cultivation level was already very close to the peak of the divine origin realm, as expected of the strongest expert guarding Zhulu country. Just as that sky full of sword aura filled the sky, a fist-sized black that appeared in the sky. No one noticed it in the dark night, but suddenly, that black dot emitted a powerful magical power. All of the startling dragon sword monarch's sword aura actually reversed in midair and shot toward that black dot. What was even more surprising was that when the sword aura hit the black, it disappeared without a trace like a clay ox entering the sea. Not even a trace was left behind. The law of gravity, black hole space. The startling dragon, sword monarch, also felt a pulling force that wanted to pull him toward the black ball. Even a late-stage divine origin expert like him had to use all his strength to suppress that force. Not only him, but Supremacy Divine Firmament and Qing Lin were also affected by the black hole space. Qing Lin was still fine since Tu Deng didn't take the initiative to attack. However, Supremacy Divine Firmament was in trouble. The cultivation technique he had cultivated his entire life just happened to be countered by Nine Leave. Nine Leave was slowly devouring his strength, so he could only passively struggle. Now that he was pulled by the black hole space, he instantly revealed a flaw. Nine Leave let out a sharp, ear-piercing sound that seemed to be able to pull one's soul out. A huge bump appeared on Supremacy Divine Firmament's back, as if something was going to pop out. Supremacy Divine Firmament's face turned pale with fright, as that was a part of his soul. The reason he was able to break through to the divine origin realm back then was that he had found another way. He had split his soul into two and used the power of his soul to communicate with the essence energy of heaven and earth, thus breaking through in one go. He didn't expect to meet an ancestor who played with the power of the soul today. The part of his soul that he had split became his own death sentence. Once that part of his soul was taken away, he would immediately lose the power of the divine origin realm. In a battle of this level, only death awaited him. No, big brother startling dragon. Qing Lin, come and help me. Supremacy Divine Firmament could only shout for help. Qing Lin turned around and was also shocked. They had only fought for a short while, so why did Divine Firmament look like he was about to die? Just as he was about to help, Tu Deng finally moved. He used his palm as a saber and slashed out with it. Light shone brightly, and even the void was torn apart. The phantom of a Buddha of slaughter appeared, and the chanting of Buddhist hymns could be heard. Indeed, it carried a murderous intent that could shake one's soul. Qing Lin instantly felt a chill on his back, followed by cold sweat. At that moment, he actually had a feeling that he would be killed. He would be killed by Tu Deng's saber. Qing Lin didn't know if it was an illusion or a premonition of death, but he was sure that it was best for him not to move. Currently, this battle was already completely out of his control. He was already doing his best to stall Tu Deng. Thus, Qing Lin silently retreated, but he didn't attack Tu Deng anymore. The two of them just stared at each other in midair. Supremacy Divine Firmament was almost in despair when he saw this scene. He could only place his hopes on the startling Dragon Sword King. However, the startling Dragon Sword King didn't have time to care about him, as the power of the Fire Phoenix, White Tiger, Water Dragon, and Black Tortoise were slowly fusing in front of him. Lung Shiqi transformed into his indestructible evil Buddha body. He had 2 wings and 6 arms, and his entire body was covered in a dense ghostly aura. The power of laws stirred up the wind and clouds. 4 Spirit Formation. Chapter 829. The 4 Spirits Formation Diagram fused the power of the 4 elements, causing the heavenly might to descend in a panic. Shocking Dragon Sword King's heart was in turmoil. Just now, Lung Shiqi's black hole space contained the power of law. He thought that it was formed by Lung Shiqi using some kind of treasure. But now, he saw Lung Shiqi condense the 4 Spirits Formation Diagram with his own eyes. A unity of heaven and man realm actually controlled a trace of the power of the heavenly law. How is this possible? It was too absurd. Shocking Dragon Sword King even thought that his old eyes were blurred for a moment. But the 4 Spirits Formation Diagram's power of law told him that all of this was real. Shocking Dragon Sword King stabilized his mind and did not waste any time. His figure moved like a swimming dragon. Majestic sword intent burst out like a god, descending to the world with a loud bang. The ground within a radius of dozens of miles was violently suppressed by this sword, forming a huge pit. When the 4 Spirits Formation Diagram fell, Countless sounds of metal clashing could be heard in the air. It was simply deafening. Under Shocking Dragon Sword King's full strength, he finally blocked the Four Spirits formation diagram. Just as he was about to heave a sigh of relief, the Four Spirits formation diagram shone brightly and then exploded with a loud bang. The spiritual energy fluctuations in the air were accompanied by a huge wave that could be seen with the naked eye. 9 and the others who were still fighting had to retreat temporarily. Those unity of heaven and man realm and spirit astral realm cultivators on the ground were sent flying. They were in a sorry state. Shocking Dragon Sword King roared and formed a seal with both hands. The long sword in his hand shattered with a loud bang, and a powerful force suddenly burst out. Then, a dragon shadow flashed out. However, it was not a mystical sky dragon, but a remnant dragon with a tragic aura. Lung Shichi frowned. This Shocking Dragon Sword King actually directly destroyed his own spiritual artifact and sacrificed his sword spirit. That spiritual sword was also an 8th-level earth weapon. He used his Sky Origin Realm cultivation to control the sword spirit and burst out with a powerful attack. Seeing this, Lung Shichi knew that the Four Spirits formation diagram could not do anything to Shocking Dragon Sword King. Sure enough, although the remnant dragon phantom was not as powerful as before, it was able to restrain its endless power and neutralize the power of the explosion of the Four Spirits array diagram. However, that startling Dragon Sword King was not in a good state either. His complexion was currently pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Clearly, he had received internal injuries. Moreover, his self-destruction of the sword spirit was equivalent to severing one of his arms. This would greatly reduce his battle prowess. He took the opportunity to observe the other battlefield, and his heart immediately sank to the bottom. Qing Lin was being stared at by Tu Deng. He didn't even dare to move. Venerable Divine Firmament was in an even worse state than the sword monarch himself. At that moment, a blurry figure similar to Venerable Divine Firmament was about to be pulled out. Venerable Divine Firmament's pained expression showed that he could not hold on for long. Startling Dragon Sword King was incomparably shocked. Where did these experts come from? The fact that Tu Deng was able to create his own Buddhist sect meant that he was indeed an extremely talented individual. It was still acceptable for him to have such strength. But who were 9 and the great emperor of Fengdu? Each one was stronger than the other. Lung Shichi's cultivation level was clearly not high, but his strength was close to the peak of the divine essence realm. Since when did such a freakish prodigy appear in this world? Lung Shichi had not been idle during those few months when he was building the king's mansion. He had constantly recalled and comprehended that battle with Shuizhou, and his control of the power of laws had become even more skilled. For example, now, he had used the black hole space to neutralize one of the startling Dragon Sword King's attacks. Subsequently, it had greatly affected the startling Dragon Sword King's strength. He could also use 2 types of laws at the same time. Otherwise, just the Four Spirit formation alone would not be able to force the startling Dragon Sword King to such a state. The startling Dragon Sword King could not care so much now. An evil force suddenly rose from his body, and, at the same time, his body rapidly shriveled up. In the blink of an eye, he was like a dried corpse. Everyone who noticed this was stunned. The startling Dragon Sword King was actually forced to overdraw his lifespan by Lung Shichi. How could this be? That startling Dragon Sword King did not have much lifespan left. Even if he did not die after this battle, he would probably have to prepare for his funeral. What really shocked everyone was that Lung Shichi's strength was too abnormal. Not only them, but also Delta Orgi from the Mansion of the Dead thought so. At this time, they were watching the battle from afar, and their eyes were all filled with disbelief and shock. For example, Delta Orgi did not see the battle between Lung Shichi and Zhou last time in the demonic Miasma Mountains. This time, she really saw the strength of Lung Shichi. Yushu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They came out of the Blood Mist Island at the same time as Lung Shiqi. It had only been a few years, and they were still practicing hard in the gang spirit realm. However, Lung Shiqi was already able to force a Tianyuan realm expert to overdraw his lifespan. The difference between the two was really huge. After a long time, Meng Ming suddenly sighed deeply and completely gave up chasing Lung Shiqi. Even if Lung Shiqi stayed in the same place for dozens of years, he would not be able to reach such strength today. How could he chase after him? On the other side, Tuding and Zhu Li were also surprised. When they knew Lung Shiqi, they all knew him as seniors and experts. But tonight, Lung Shiqi's strength was no weaker than theirs. In some aspects, he was even stronger than them. For example, the power of the law of heaven and earth. This was the key to opening the door of the Tongxian realm. Startling Dragon Sword King was now focused. Since the situation had come to this, he had no way out. If he retreated, he would let Zhu Luo fall into the hands of others. He did not believe that Princess Carol could invite these experts over. It was nothing more than the other party secretly controlling Zhu Luo. He absolutely could not let this happen. Startling Dragon Sword King did not have a sword in his hand, but he was the sharpest sword in the world. He pointed out a finger, and in an instant, a dragon roared. However, it was not a majestic sky dragon, but a bone dragon. A dark, decaying, and terrifying aura spread out. Lung Shiqi snickered in his heart. He was the least afraid of these evil forces. As his spirit energy surged, the Mahavarakana form appeared, and a giant golden dragon coiled up and soared into the sky. Immediately after, endless Buddhist light expelled the night sky, and Buddhist lotuses scattered down. In the voice of the ninth heaven, a Buddhist palm that covered the sky suddenly slammed down. Mahavarakana dragon flame palm. Amitba. Tuding, who was at the side, chanted. He formed a seal with his hand, and the Buddhist lotuses in the air suddenly gathered rapidly. Under a dazzling Buddhist light, they condensed into a huge, purifying Buddhist lotus. The appearance of the Mahavarakana dragon flame palm and the purifying Buddhist lotus instantly caused the bone dragon's aura to drop by a large amount. Lung Shiqi seized the opportunity, and his body suddenly shone with starlight. Countless star charts radiated out, turning the sky into a starry universe. The countless stars were connected to each other, and vaguely, they formed a giant hand that reached the sky. The giant hand crossed time and space like a meteor and instantly pressed the bone dragon to the ground. With a series of cracking sounds, the bone dragon was actually directly crushed in a fine powder. Great Star Plucking Hand. Princess Carol was shocked and charged forward. Chapter 830. Everyone was dumbfounded when the bone dragon was smashed into pieces, including Lung Shiqi himself. The power of the Great Star Plucking Hand is so great. Even he himself could not believe it. The Great Star Plucking Hand was a spiritual technique created by the Star Clan and spirit cultivators. It could be said that it combined the strengths of the Star Clan and spirit cultivators, and its power was close to entangling spiritual opportunity. Lung Shiqi had a strong Star Clan bloodline, and he was a human, so he could perfectly display the power of the Great Star Plucking Hand. Moreover, the bone dragon of the frightening Dragon Sword King was suppressed by the Mahavarakana Dragon Flame Palm and Purifying Buddha Lotus. It was already good that it could retain 50% of its power. As a result, the scene just now occurred. The frightening Dragon Sword King was stunned. He overdrew his lifespan, but the result was that it could not withstand a single blow. At this moment, it was not only the bone dragon that was smashed, but also the dignity and faith of the frightening Dragon Sword King. In his life, he could not be said to be invincible, but he was a powerhouse that guarded a region. Which expert in the 6 Western countries did not fear his existence? His position in the Zhulu country was even more extraordinary. Generations of kings and royal relatives had to respectfully call him Lord when they saw him, because he was the guardian of the Zhulu country. But today, this guardian was actually crushed by the Emperor of Feng, who came out of nowhere. What was even more ridiculous was that this Emperor Fengdu was only at the unity of heaven and man realm. For the first time in his life, the frightening Dragon Sword King began to wonder if he was dreaming. Below, King Gus's face was filled with despair. Even the strongest of the Zhu Lu country, the frightening Dragon Sword King, was defeated, which meant that he was also defeated. The result of his defeat was that he would lose the throne of the Zhu Lu country, and also his life. Gus was filled with regret. Of all the things he should have done, he should not have left Royal City. At first, he came with full confidence. In fact, he should have been full of confidence. He had brought dozens of experts and 3 Sky Origin Stage experts with him. Dealing with a mere Princess Carol was as easy as chopping vegetables. But who could have predicted that the opponent's strength was stronger? If Gus hadn't come himself, he could have escaped as soon as he got the news. Even if he lost the throne, he could at least save his own life. Unfortunately, man proposes, but God disposes. Under such a coincidence, it seemed like he was really going to die here. However, Gus wasn't going to just wait for death. He suddenly shouted, "Run! Split up and run!" Before he finished speaking, he turned into a stream of water and quickly retreated. Trying to escape? Have you asked for our permission? Luho suddenly grinned. His body moved, leaving a trail of afterimages behind him. His speed was even faster than Gus's. Not far away, a huge green net suddenly appeared in front of Gus. Gus immediately decided to burn his blood essence, and blood-red pillars of water surged out of his body in an attempt to tear the giant green net apart. However, the giant net was extremely sticky, and he couldn't tear it apart in a short time. A green snake emerged from the ground. "I've been watching you for a long time." At the same time, Luho had already caught up. Seeing that he couldn't escape, King Gus's eyes glowed red. He could only forcefully break through the joint attack of Luho and the green snake. Lung Shichi saw that Gus was stopped and felt relieved. Everyone here could escape, but only Gus had to die. However, before that, he had to deal with the Sword King first. It only took 1 or 2 breaths of time for Gus to escape and be stopped. The Sword King still hadn't recovered from the shock. In fact, for a Sky Origin Stage cultivator, this shouldn't happen. However, there was no other way. He was indeed beaten up badly. As for escaping, the Sword King didn't think about it. Moreover, with his injured body, he wouldn't be able to escape from the 3 of them. Even if he was lucky enough to escape, he wouldn't have many years to live. Rather than that, he might as well drag one of them down with him before he died. A ruthless glint flashed past his eyes. Lung Shichi's sharp senses detected the Sword Monarch's thoughts. How could he give the Sword Monarch a chance to counterattack before death? Lung Shichi clapped his hands, and a pale yellow brilliance enveloped the surrounding area. Everyone felt as if there was a huge mountain pressing down on their shoulders. Those spirit astral realm cultivators were all pressed to the ground, unable to move. Only those in the unity of heaven and man realm could barely hold on. Even those in the Sky Origin Stage fell down one by one, no longer able to stay in the air. Law of Earth, gravity, space. With a flick of Lung Shichi's finger, dozens of beams of light struck Tooting, Nine Leave, Gusan, Princess Carol, and the others. With a flash of light, they were no longer affected by the gravitational space. The Sword King's body was under the greatest pressure. Lung Shichi exerted more than 70% of the gravity on the Sword King's body. At this moment, the Sword King's body was surrounded by dense dragon-shaped sword shadows. However, those sword shadows couldn't get too far from his body. At most, they were suppressed by the invisible gravity. Lung Shichi pointed his finger and a dreamy rainbow light shot out. Thousand Autumn Dream Finger. The Sword King pointed between his eyebrows and a drop of dark red blood flowed out. The aura on his body also recovered bit. The dragon-shaped sword shadows instantly turned into ferocious blood dragons and shattered the rainbow light. Lung Shichi certainly didn't think that he could take the Sword King's life with just Thousand Autumn Dream Finger. This was just a feint. Just after the rainbow light shot out, 6 mysterious vortexes appeared behind him, and a wave of spiritual energy that coincided with the heavenly Tao spread out. At the same time, Lung Shiqi's eyes flashed. He reached out and grabbed a shadow from the Sword King's body and threw it into the vortex behind him. Illusion, 6 paths of reincarnation. Then, Lung Shiqi couldn't be bothered to care about how many lifetimes the Sword King's soul could survive in the 6 paths of reincarnation. He suddenly became very domineering and punched the Sword King's dominating barrier. The Sword King's entire body was directly smashed into the ground and exploded into a cloud of blood. The most powerful person in the Zhu Road Kingdom's Hall of Worship, the guardian deity who had guarded the Zhu Road Kingdom for countless years, the Sword King, had fallen. At that moment, Supremacy Divine Firmament, who was still struggling bitterly, suddenly screamed. The 6 paths of reincarnation that Lung Shiqi summoned had a great effect on the soul. Supremacy Divine Firmament, who could still hold on for a while, finally couldn't control the other half of his soul. Nine Leaf immediately pulled it out of his body. Then, it was stuffed into Nine Leaf's mouth. No! Supremacy Divine Firmament's aura suddenly plummeted from Divine Firmament to Heaven-Man Unity. He screamed in despair, but he was directly pressed down by the gravitational space. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Nine Leaf transformed back into human form and licked the corner of his mouth. A ball of pitch-black netherworld aura turned into a palm and wrapped around Supremacy Divine Firmament. Soon, only a pale white skeleton was left. Umitba. Tu Deng slowly closed his eyes, as if he couldn't bear to see this tragic scene. Meanwhile, Qing Lin felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. The Sword King and Supremacy Divine Firmament died, just like that. More importantly, both Lung Shiqi and Nine Leaf had their eyes on him. Chapter 831. Qing Lin secretly swallowed his saliva. It had been a long time since he felt the emotion called fear. Lung Shiqi and the other two had the ability to kill him one-on-one, but he had to face all 3 of them at the same time. What was the difference between this and death? You win. Qing Lin sighed. Although I still don't know your background, the winner takes all. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. Lung Shiqi said, Who said you want to die? We are only helping Princess Carol take back her throne. Zhu country is still the same as before, just with a new king. You are still a member of Zhu country's royal family, as long as you are willing to submit to Princess Carol. Qing Lin's expression changed. He wanted him to surrender. He would not believe Lung Shiqi's nonsense. He was sure that Zhu country would become this mysterious faction's puppet from now on. As for Princess Carol, she would also be a puppet king. However, Lung Shiqi gave him a choice. Surrender without any dignity or die here. Qing Lin hesitated. Just as he was about to give up, Gus let out a desperate cry. Under the suppression of the gravity space, Gus could not use much of his strength. Luho and Green Snake had joined forces to kill him. Gus was already covered in blood, and his aura was weak. Lung Shiqi flicked his finger, and a stream of light pierced through Gus's heart. Gus's body swayed and fell to the ground. He was filled with regret and unwillingness before he lost his breath. The deaths of the Dragon Sword King, Divine Firmament Supremacy, and Gus meant that tonight's battle was over. Gus's era was completely over. Princess Carol stood up at the right time. She only said 4 words. Those who surrender will not be killed. These words were meant for the experts who came with Gus, as well as for Qing Lin. Seeing Gus die, Qing Lin also knew that everything was a foregone conclusion. He couldn't do anything by himself, especially when Lung Shiqi and Nine Leaf were still slowly approaching. Qing Lin did not have any leeway. When the people below saw that Qing Lin, a Sky Origin Stage cultivator, had surrendered, they were even more impressed. Princess Carol suddenly became excited. The surrender of Qing Lin and the others meant that she was only a step away from the throne. One had to know that these people were the backbone of the Zhu Road country. With them, it was equivalent to controlling the majority of the Zhu Road country's power. Lung Shiqi patted Qing Lin's shoulder and said, You are a Sky Origin cultivator. With you here, Zhu Lu will naturally be safe. However, Princess Carol's cultivation is too weak. Just in case, I will place restrictions on her. I'm sure you won't refuse. Qing Lin closed his eyes and then opened them again. There was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. Fine, that's how it should be. Your Excellency is indeed sensible. Lung Shiqi struck out several seals and drilled them into Qing Lin's body. He didn't dare to use any tricks against a Heavenly Origin Stage expert. After all, he couldn't stay in Zhu Lu country all the time. After doing all this, Lung Shiqi came to Princess Carol's side. Princess Carol, no, I should call you Her Majesty Carol. Princess Carol said with a self-deprecating smile, it's just a small country's throne. That's not true. Lung Shiqi shook his head mysteriously. Zhu Road country is indeed very small right now. It can't even compare to the West Desolate Province. But that doesn't mean it won't become strong in the future. What do you mean by that? That's for later. Right now, Princess Carol's top priority is to organize these people and then quickly go to King City to prepare for the coronation. When Princess Carol heard the word enthronement, her delicate body trembled. She had suffered so much over the years and was even willing to become a puppet. Wasn't it all for the sake of the throne? I understand. With that, she brought her people into the city to make arrangements. At this time, King City was in chaos. Not long ago, Lung Shiqi killed dozens of people here. They were all Zhu Road's nobles and Gus's trusted aides. Everyone in King City fell into a deep panic. In the end, even the Heaven Origin Stage was lured out. Unfortunately, he didn't even catch half a shadow. This Heaven Origin Stage was the fourth person in Zhu Road's Royal Hall of Worship, Zhongguanqing. He was also the weakest, only at the early stage of the Heaven Origin Stage. He wasn't originally from Zhu Road country, but a rogue cultivator from the Starfall dynasty. After breaking through to the Heaven Origin Stage, he didn't know what was good for him and provoked a top sect. He was chased all the way until startling Dragon Sword King came to save him. Thus, he joined Zhu Road's Royal Hall of Worship. Startling Dragon Sword King and the others followed Gus to clean up the rebels. He was left behind in King City. But at this moment, Royal City was in a mess. Many people were running out like crazy, thinking that some kind of scourge had appeared here. Zhongguanqing had a headache. When startling Dragon Sword King and the others returned, how was he going to explain? He could only try his best to stabilize King City and wait for Gus and the others to come back. But on the second day, it wasn't Gus and the others who came back. It was Princess Carol. Zhongguanqing blocked Princess Carol's path. He did so because he saw Qing Lin beside Princess Carol. He didn't understand and thought that Gus had made some deal with Princess Carol. Unexpectedly, Qing Lin said, startling Dragon Sword King and Divine Firmament Supremacy have already died. Gus is also dead. The situation is irreversible. Zhongguanqing's expression froze. He shouted in disbelief, impossible. Nothing is impossible. Zhongguanqing, you're not from Zhu Road country. I advise you to lower your head. Qing Lin was quite tactful, and Zhongguanqing naturally understood what he meant. He wanted him to submit. Zhongguanqing was a little confused. Everything was different from what he expected. What happened last night? Why had the sky of Zhu Lu changed in a single day? Qing Lin secretly sent a voice transmission to Zhongguanqing. Don't think too much. Princess Carol has 3 powerful cultivators. They are terrifyingly powerful. The startling Dragon Sword King and Divine Firmament Supremacy were killed on spot. With your cultivation level, you'll die in 3 moves. Zhongguanqing's jaw dropped. The startling Dragon Sword King was a late-stage Divine Essence cultivator, but he was killed on the spot. He quickly understood what he had to do. He smiled at Princess Carol. Welcome, Your Majesty, who said that Divine Essence cultivators were superior. In the face of life and death, they had to put down all their dignity. With Zhongguanqing's submission, there was almost no resistance to Princess Carol's ascension. The only troublesome thing was the courtiers. They might submit on the surface, but they might secretly obey in public but oppose in private. Thus, one person stood up. He was the nation elder during the time of the previous king, Chu Li. After Gus took the throne, he put Chu Li under house arrest because Chu Li's prestige and connections were just too great. Even after a few years, no one in Zhou Road country could compare to him. Lung Shiqi asked Princess Carol to invite him to continue being the nation elder. With Chu Li around, the courtiers would not have any other ideas. Now, Princess Carol had many powerful cultivators. Even the Buddhist sects were helping her win the hearts of the people. And with the support of the royal family and Chu Li, there was no chance of anything going wrong. The next day, the monarch city quickly regained its stability. Under everyone's gaze, Carol was crowned queen. Chapter 832. On a mountain outside the royal city, Lung Shiqi stood with his hands behind his back. Delta Orgi, Yushu, and Xiongming stood behind him. Seeing Princess Carol ascend the throne, Lung Shiqi let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, I have a place to stand. Yes, after secretly taking control of Zhu Lugua, he finally had a place to stand. No matter how much power and influence he had in the Thunderblaze dynasty, even if he had a sole avatar as the emperor, Zhu Lugua was a place he had personally planned for a long time. It was also a backup plan he had prepared for himself. Lung Shiqi had many identities: Blood Garment Pavilion, Dark Thunder Guard, Western Baron King. These identities were watched by many people, so he had to be careful at all times. However, Zhu Lugua was different. Now, only the people in the underworld knew that this place belonged to Lung Shiqi, and only the people he trusted the most knew. No matter what happened in the future, Zhu Lugua would be his backup plan. Even if the Blood Garment Pavilion was completely defeated, even if his identity was completely exposed, he was not afraid. With his backup plan, Lung Shiqi felt much more at ease. Yushu looked at Lung Shiqi like he was looking at a monster and asked, "I really don't understand how you cultivate. It's too abnormal." Without waiting for Lung Shiqi to answer, Yushu muttered, "I'm going back to cultivate," and returned through the underworld. Xiongming did not say anything and also disappeared. As for Delta Orgi, she stretched out her hand and said, "Give me some more essence blood." Lung Shiqi did not hesitate and took out dozens of drops of essence blood. Last time, when he fought against the Indian army, he saw the power of Delta Orgi's Blood Shadow secret art. It was a secret art with great potential. He was also very curious to what extent Delta Orgi could perfect this secret art. In the palace, Princess Carol, now Queen Carol, was still a bit absent-minded as she sat on the throne. 10 days ago, she was still competing with the heavenly Silkworm Palace for a few dozen li of land. She had racked her brains for this. But in a short span of half a month, she sat on the throne of the highest position in Zhu Lu country. From the beginning to the end, she didn't seem to have done anything at all. Everything had been arranged by Lung Shiqi long ago. She just had to be obedient and do what she was supposed to do. At this moment, Queen Carol felt a deep sense of fear towards Lung Shiqi. Just what kind of person was he? Not only was his strength terrifyingly powerful, but he also came and went like a ghost, taking every conceivable possibility into account, toying with the entire Zhou Road country in the palm of his hand. However, when she saw the officials kneeling before her, she raised her head slightly. She was now the queen, and the most important thing now was to win the hearts of the people. 2 days ago, Lung Shiqi killed a large number of Gus's trusted aides, causing many important positions in Zhou Road to be empty. Naturally, they had to be filled now. Many people were moved by these positions, and it also gave Carol a very good opportunity to promote her trusted aides. After arranging these positions, she also announced that Buddhism would be the state religion of Zhou Road. Naturally, Tu Dang would become the state teacher. No one stood up to oppose this. Everyone knew that Queen Carol had already roped in Buddhism. Moreover, Tu Dang was a true sky origin stage expert. It was naturally a good thing for him to become the state teacher of Zhou Road country. The palace was filled with a joyous atmosphere. However, at this moment, a person holding a scroll rushed in, ignoring the rules of the palace. "Report. Urgent report from the border. It's extremely urgent." No one in the palace tried to stop him, but everyone had a serious look on their faces. Something had happened at the border. Ever since Gus had taken the throne, Beilu country had been restless while the Zhou Road country's king was changing. In the past few years, there had been several conflicts at the border, and Zhou Road country had lost more than they won. Lung Shiqi also recalled that he had indeed encountered the battle between the Zhou Lu nation and the Beilu nation. At that time, he had collected a large number of souls to upgrade the underworld. Later on, he had bumped into the experts of the Li family who had come to kill him. 2 days ago, when he was wantonly slaughtering in the capital, the news had already spread to Beilu country. It was normal to have spies in the Zhou Road country's capital, and Beilu country, who had received this information, knew that this was an excellent opportunity. Thus, they immediately mobilized their army to the border of Zhou Road country. Queen Carol's expression was also heavy. She had just been crowned queen, and something had happened at the border. If she did not handle it well, her prestige would be greatly damaged. She calmed her mind and calmly asked, "What happened at the border?" That person hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, Beilu country's army of 50,000 has poured out and is already 200 meters away from the border." Hua! The palace hall was instantly filled with exclamations. Beilu country and Zhou Road country were not much different in strength, at most 2 or 3 times stronger than Zhou Road country. Beilu country had a total of 60 to 70,000 soldiers, but this time Beilu country had directly mobilized 50,000 elite soldiers. Were they not afraid that the great Moon Kingdom behind them would take advantage of the situation? No, Beilu country was now planning to take advantage of the chaos in Zhou Road country. What worried everyone was that there were only 30,000 Lu troops stationed at the border. Although the fortress was easy to defend and difficult to attack, in this world, the number of soldiers was not the only factor in war. More importantly, it was the number of experts. Beilu country suddenly sent 50,000 elite soldiers, and the experts among them must be far more than those at the border. As long as the other side sent experts to take the lead and destroy the defense of the fortress, it would not take long for them to break through the fortress. Originally, there were only some small conflicts between the two sides, but suddenly, Beilu country's desperate approach made everyone a little panic. Chu Li's expression did not change. He said, "Your Majesty, the most urgent thing now is to immediately mobilize the Indian army to the border, but the speed of the army is too slow. It will take more than 10 days. Therefore, we also need to gather some experts above the Spirit Aperture realm to take the lead as soon as possible to prevent Beilu country from launching a sneak attack on the fortress." As soon as he spoke, everyone was immediately relieved. Queen Carol also agreed with Chu Li's suggestion. The two most powerful elite troops in Zhou Road country were the Indian army and the Dilu army, each with about 30,000 soldiers. The Dilu army had always been stationed at the western border, while the Indian army was scattered in various important places. Queen Carol was about to speak, but Lung Shiqi's voice suddenly appeared in her mind. "I happen to have something to do in Beilu country, so I will solve this matter on the way." Hearing this, Queen Carol's expression froze. What did he mean by solving it on the way? That was an army of 50,000. Even 50,000 pigs could not be killed in a short time. How could Lung Shiqi solve it? But on second thought, it was a miracle that she could sit here at this time. What could Lung Shiqi not do? So she said to the ministers, "There is no need to be so troublesome. I have a way to deal with the 50,000 soldiers." Chapter 833. Carol's words caused the hall that had just calmed down to become noisy again. However, Carol didn't explain and only said, "This one is the king of Zhou Lu country. I know the importance and urgency of this matter better than any of you. But you have to remember one thing. If this one says there is no need to pay attention, then there is no need to pay attention. Court is dismissed." Then she got up and left the hall, leaving behind a group of officials staring at each other. Many people looked at Elder Chu Li, hoping he could persuade the king. However, Chu Li stroked his beard and said, "I can guess your Majesty's ability. Let's just listen to your orders." When Carol arrived at her study, she immediately summoned someone. Send this secret edict to the commander of the army at the border as soon as possible. Outside the border of Zhu Lu country, the 50,000 Bei Lu country army was stationed here. There was a group of people drinking and eating meat in a large tent. The person in the lead was wide and fat. His body was covered in fat. Don't look at his appearance. His cultivation was at the peak of unity with the world realm. This person was the commander of the 50,000 Bei Lu country army, Adams. I'm afraid that the bastards of Zhu Lu country are scared out of their wits. He tore off a large piece of meat and laughed arrogantly. That's right. Immediately, someone echoed. Our 50,000 army is at the border. Zhu Lu country is still in internal strife. The previous King Gus is still alive. It's said that this time the one ascending the throne is a little girl. She might not even be able to subdue those officials. How could she have the time to stop us? Even if they send reinforcements now, it's too late. That's right, Adams continued. Their experts should be on the way at this time, but they definitely wouldn't expect us to make a move now. Adams smashed the wine jar in his hand and shouted, Brothers, now that we're full, it's time to kill. Originally, they didn't plan on giving Zhu Lu country time to send reinforcements. Since they sent out a surprise attack, they wanted to catch Zhu Lu country off guard. Just as everyone was rubbing their fists and preparing for a big fight, a terrifying pressure suddenly appeared, as if the sky was collapsing. More than 90% of the people in the big tent were directly pressed to the ground to eat dirt. Only 5 of them could still stand, but all of them were bent over, clearly in great pain. It was the Lung Shichi's gravity space. All of a sudden, the fat all over Adam's body trembled as he broke free from the suppression of gravity. He shouted in shock, Which expert is it? If you have something to say, let's talk it over. You're quite capable to be able to speak normally in my gravity space. A cold voice rang out behind Adams. But before he could turn his head, his vision suddenly turned black, and he lost consciousness forever. Lung Shichi twisted off Adams's head. He glanced around and found that there were more than 60 people in the tent, all of whom were masters above Gang's spirit realm. This time, Bei Lu country really put in a lot of effort. He stretched out his hand and pressed down, causing the gravity space to rapidly compress. The gravity within the tent continued to increase. Immediately after, a series of popping sounds could be heard. These experts were all crushed into a pile of minced meat by the gravity. After doing this, Lung Shichi quietly left the place. Even the guards outside didn't know what happened inside. The reason why he didn't do anything to those ordinary soldiers was that he wanted to leave this opportunity to others. If Carol was smart enough, she should know what to do. Secondly, Lung Shichi didn't want Bei Lu country to suffer too much damage at once. Zhu Lu's next step was to annex Bei Lu country. Unfortunately, Zhu Lu's appetite was not so big that it could swallow the whole Bei Lu country directly. It needed to be nibbled away slowly. In addition, if Bei Lu country suffered heavy casualties this time, it would also give Great Moon Kingdom a chance. Great Moon Kingdom had been eyeing Bei Lu country covetously. Once they found that Bei Lu country had lost tens of thousands of troops, they would definitely send their troops to attack. At that time, Zhu Lu would be in a passive position. Lung Shichi ignored those soldiers and went straight to the capital of Bei Lu country to look for the 3 talents imperial skill. According to Xiahou Ba, the 3 talents imperial skill was in the hands of the Rain Heavenly Master, the owner of Huayu Building. He had also recently collected information about the Rain Heavenly Master who had broken through to Tianyuan realm several years ago. Huayu Building had great prestige in Bei Lu country, and countless people came to worship it every year. It was easy to find a Rain Heavenly Master, but it was not easy to get the 3 talents imperial skill. First of all, the Rain Heavenly Master's cultivation was in Tianyuan realm. Lung Shichi believed that his strength was comparable to the peak of Tianyuan realm, but it was still unrealistic to act wantonly in the capital of Bei Lu country. Moreover, even if he killed the Rain Heavenly Master, he might not be able to get the 3 talents imperial skill. This was the most troublesome part. Thinking of this, Lung Shiqi's mind flashed, and, at the same time, his eyes revealed a strong killing intent. He suddenly remembered that as long as he killed the Rain Heavenly Master and took his soul into the mansion of the dead, he would naturally know where the 3 talents imperial skill was. If that didn't work, he could ask his soul to recite the incantation word by word. At this time, Lung Shiqi found that when his strength reached a certain level, many things were easy to do. Entering the capital of Juru country was the best example. At first, Lung Shiqi did not intend to provoke the Dragon Shocking Sword King and others, but his strength was too strong, so he simply killed the people of the Hall of Worship. It was the same to deal with the Rain Heavenly Master. If Lung Shiqi only had the strength of oneness of heaven and men, even if he had planned for a long time and tried his best, he would not have much hope to get the 3 talents imperial skill. Power, the root of all this was power. When Lung Shiqi flew to the capital of Bailu country, there were 30,000 soldiers ready to go in the fortress on the border of Juru country. Not long ago, they received a secret order from Queen Carol, waiting for an opportunity to take the initiative to attack the army of Bailu country. At first, they all thought that they were wrong. Now that 50,000 soldiers of Bailu country were approaching the border, Yunwu City did not send support, but asked them to take the initiative to attack. What was the difference between this and death? But immediately, several spies reported that all the generals above Gang Spirit Realm in Bailu country died mysteriously, including the commander Adams. They all died an unnatural death. At this moment, the army of Bailu country was leaderless, and the morale was low. The remaining low-level generals could not suppress them at all, and many people even began to escape. After getting this information, the soldiers of the ground army did not know what the opposite side had experienced. They only knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The army of Bailu country had no commander, no masters, and the morale of the army was even lower. Although the army of Bailu country outnumbered the ground army by 20,000, the ground army had a huge advantage. The ground army did not hesitate at all. After finishing the reorganization at the fastest speed, they rushed out of the fortress and went straight to the army of Bailu country. Chapter 834. The capital of the Bailu kingdom was not very big, but the buildings here were very strange. They were mostly tall. Tall buildings with more than 10 floors could be seen everywhere. People were bustling inside. It was quite a unique scene. Lung Shiqi had changed his appearance. He was sitting in a restaurant. He was tasting the delicacies of the Bailu kingdom while asking for information about the Huayu building. In his eyes, the Huayu building was just a trick. However, in the eyes of the ordinary people of the Bailu kingdom, it was like a god from the 9th heaven. The Huayu heavenly master was quite capable. Besides, the Bailu kingdom was behind it. The ordinary people were fooled by the Bailu kingdom. Therefore, Lung Shiqi quickly found the location of the Huayu building, which was built right next to the palace of the Bailu kingdom. Logically speaking, this was extremely unreasonable. This kind of layout was like a mountain containing 2 tigers. No king would do this. However, the king of the Bailu kingdom still did it. That was why Lung Shiqi was suspicious. The Huayu building was so close to the palace. If he killed the Huayu heavenly master, it would attract the attention of the Tianyuan stage cultivators of the Bailu kingdom. Therefore, he had to wait for an opportunity. The opportunity would come soon. Therefore, Lung Shiqi stayed in the restaurant and observed the movements of the Melting Rain Tower. Not only the Melting Rain Tower, but also the residences of some of the ministers. When night fell, all the mansions suddenly lit up. Groups of people hurried to the palace of the Bailu kingdom. Several people from the Huayu building were also walking to the palace. One of them was in the Tianyuan stage. He was the Huayu heavenly master. Lung Shiqi immediately moved and followed the Huayu heavenly master. However, he was not going to follow the Huayu heavenly master. After all, they were all going to the palace. Lung Shichi was worried that there might be a high-level sensing formation. Therefore, he did not want to enter the palace. His real target was the other important ministers. Soon, everyone arrived at the main hall of the palace. The atmosphere in the main hall was so heavy that it was difficult to breathe. Kirk, the king of the Bailu kingdom, looked so bitter. The air in the main hall seemed to be frozen. Nobody dared to breathe. This was because they had all received the same information. To be more precise, it was a battle report. Just half a day ago, the Zhu Lu country's army of 30,000 had defeated the Bei Lu country's army of 50,000. More than half of the Bei Lu army had been killed or injured. They were killed so badly that they threw away their helmets and abandoned their armor. The border was also broken through by the Earth Army, and they directly took 2 cities and 6 towns. Defeat, a crushing defeat. 50,000 against 30,000, yet they still suffered such a crushing defeat. Everyone, including the king of the inferior stream kingdom, Kirk, had the first reaction of disbelief when they received the report. The Wuwan army sent out by the Jilu country was not a mob, and there were many high-level spirit cultivators. How could they be beaten so badly by the 30,000 people of the Zhu Lu country? What made it even harder for them to accept was that they had actually lost their city. Originally, Jilu Nation and Zhu Lu Nation's national strength were about the same. Both sides have been fighting for decades, and there had never been a case of losing a city. The defeat this time not only greatly damaged the national strength of the Bailu country, but also completely humiliated them. At this moment, the most urgent thing for them was not to investigate why they lost, nor did they have the time to find out who was responsible. The most important thing now was how to stabilize the people's hearts and protect the Bailu country's land. One must know that the enemy of the Bailu country was not only the Zhu Lu country, but also the even more powerful Great Yu Clan Kingdom. If the Great Yu Clan Kingdom were to add insult to injury and make the Bailu country face enemies from both sides, then they would really be in danger of being annihilated. Kirk had a headache as he pressed his forehead. He no longer had the mood to rage and sighed deeply. I thought that we would be the ones attacking the city, but the result was the opposite. Since it has already happened, let's not care about the reason. Now let's talk about what to do. The main hall was still silent. After a long while, someone spoke. Your Majesty, I think that with the current situation, we must do 3 things at the same time. First, send an envoy to negotiate with the Zhu Lu country. Second, settle the refugees as soon as possible and stabilize the people's hearts. Third, be wary of the Great Yu Clan Kingdom. The Bailu country was defeated, and peace talks were definitely going to happen. If they continued to fight, they would only suffer more losses. However, peace talks also meant that they had admitted defeat, and the Zhu Lu country was bound to make some excessive demands. They had no choice but to accept this. After all, they had been defeated. The winner was the king, and the loser was the bandit. It was that simple. No one objected to the peace talks. No one jumped out and insisted on fighting with the Zhu Lu country to the end. This matter was quickly decided on the envoy. As for stabilizing the people's hearts, they discussed with each other and did not have a good way. At this time, a person's eyes flashed with a ray of 9-colored light, and then he stepped forward and said, I think it's better to let the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master go. He has great prestige among the people. As long as he uses a little trick, he should be able to make those people quickly submit. Then, several people agreed with this idea. Kirk looked at the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master and asked for his opinion. The Rain Transformation Heavenly Master was wearing a strange mask, so people could not see his face. He was full of mystery. Everyone looked at him with some fear. He did not seem to be very friendly in the eyes of these ministers. The Rain Transformation Heavenly Master did not treat these people well. In the Bei Lu country, only the king could make him treat them with respect. And if the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master did not agree, even the king could not force him. The Rain Transformation Heavenly Master smiled strangely. It is my duty to share the worries of the king. I will leave early tomorrow morning. That's good. With the Heavenly Master, there is nothing to worry about. Kirk smiled. At this time, Lung Shichi was outside the palace, waiting for the result. He had used illusion to change the minds of several ministers and let them suggest the rain transformation Heavenly Master to pacify the people. But he did not enter the palace just in case. He could only wait here. Not long after, some people came out of the palace. Lung Shichi finally got the answer he wanted. Since the rain transformation Heavenly Master agreed to help, it meant that he would leave the Beilu country. As long as he left the country, it would give Lung Shichi a chance to make his move. He was not interested in the identity of the rain transformation Heavenly Master, nor was he interested in why the rain transformation building had such a big influence in the Beilu country. The only thing he was interested in was the 3 talents imperial technique. With this technique, he could exchange it for a powerful fist technique with Xiaoba. Not only that, but he could also be on good terms with Xiaoba. This was very important for his future plans. When dawn broke, the rain transformation Heavenly Master took several people out of the city. Lung Shichi naturally followed. He did not follow very closely. He stayed at the edge of the range of the Byakugan. When they were 300 miles away from the palace, he was ready to make his move. But at this time, the rain transformation Heavenly Master made an extremely unexpected move. Chapter 835. The rain harvester suddenly stopped, and the people around him naturally stopped as well. Master, Heavenly Master? One of them doubtfully asked. Let's stop here. I'm talking about you. The rain harvester suddenly raised his blade, and several sharp chi streaked across, instantly cutting off the heads of those people. Seeing this, Lung Shichi's eyes narrowed. The dead people were all from the rain harvester, and could be considered as half of the rain harvester's disciples. But the rain harvester actually killed them so casually. What was going on? Lung Shichi suppressed his killing intent and decided to see what was going on first. After the rain harvester killed those people, a small dark gray formation suddenly appeared beside him, and a translucent figure appeared. Trash! The figure angrily cursed, and the rain harvester immediately knelt down on the ground. His body was actually slightly trembling, and it seemed like he was extremely afraid of this person. The rain harvester was a sky origin level cultivator, but now he was like this. This made Lung Shichi very curious about the figure's identity, and at the same time, he felt that the rain harvester's identity was not simple. The figure saw the rain harvester like this, and waved his hand. Forget it! Zhulu country has a mysterious force behind it, and this failure can't be blamed on you. Your task now is not only to continue invading Beilu country, but also to investigate the force behind Zhulu country. If you can't do it well, you know the rules of the temple. I understand. I will do my best. The rain harvester immediately nodded like he was pounding garlic. You, take care of yourself. After saying this, the illusory figure disappeared. The rain harvester climbed up from the ground, and his body was full of fatigue. He deeply sighed and continued walking. In the afternoon, his footsteps paused because he realized that the world had turned black and white in an instant. Only the world below him was black and white. The grass and trees around him all turned gray, and even the sun in the sky was the same. The rain morphing master was alarmed. He formed a hand seal, and 3 mysterious seals appeared around him. They were the seals of ice, wind, and lightning. After that, countless black and white rays of light shot out from midair. Boundless energy of yin and yang erupted, and it instantly expelled all the energy of the heavens and the earth in an area of 50 kilometers. The 3 seals quickly fade away. The rain harvester is shocked. Can a warrior of the sky origin stage still be considered a warrior of the sky origin stage when he can't communicate with the natural energies? Without the support of heaven and earth essence energy, his strength would be reduced by at least 50%. The black and white streams of light then separated. The white streams of light floated above the 9 heavens, while the black streams of light sank below the 9 underworlds. Immediately after, Heaven and earth shook, and the terrifying power of yin and yang seemed to split the world apart. The clouds of the 9 heavens dispersed, and the gates of hell opened. Yin-yang brilliant void. 2 black and white spheres like the sun and moon appeared in the sky and on the ground. The power of yin and yang intersected, stirring up the laws of the world. And the point of intersection was the rain transformation master. Even though the rain harvester was wearing a mask, one could still see his horrified face. At this moment, his body was being pulled by the power of yin and yang, and he couldn't even move. The black and white spheres attracted each other and suddenly collided with each other. In an instant, the sky darkened. Strangely, the black and white spheres didn't make any sound after they collided, as if even the sound was silenced. Instead, the surrounding space was cut into many spatial cracks. When all the light dissipated, there was nothing in the surrounding 100 miles. Even the air and spiritual energy didn't exist. This was a real land of death. As for the rain harvester, he had already been crushed into dust by the power of yin and yang. At this moment, Lung Shiqi appeared. His face was a bit pale. After knowing that the rain transformation master's identity was strange, he was much more cautious. He waited for the rain transformation master to leave for a while before making his move. And just in case, he used his trump card, the brilliant void of yin and yang. He directly melted the rain transformation master, not giving him any chance to escape. Lung Shiqi heard very clearly that the mysterious shadow said the 2 words, Holy Palace. To be able to order the rain transformation master, who was a warrior of the sky origin stage, around like a dog, that shadow must be someone from the yin and yang palaces. To be more specific, it should be someone from the Nether Holy Palace. Lung Shiqi had no choice but to kill the rain transformation master. Otherwise, if the rain transformation master had a chance to spread the news, he would be in great trouble. Although he had been tracking down the Nether Holy Palace, and he purposely revealed the name Lung Shiqi in order to lure them out. But it didn't mean that he had to go against the Nether Holy Palace now. Lung Shiqi hooked his finger and took the rain transformation master's soul into the underworld mansion. He immediately teleported thousands of miles away and entered the underworld mansion. Even if the Nether Holy Palace had some tricks, they wouldn't be able to find him. Arriving at the underworld mansion, Lung Shiqi immediately summoned the Rain Transformation Master's soul. At this moment, he saw that the Rain Transformation Master was a handsome middle-aged man. But from his appearance, he didn't look like someone from the Bailu Kingdom. He must have come from the Thunderblaze Kingdom or the Starfall Kingdom. Then, Lung Shiqi turned the Rain Transformation Master into a ghost slave. Where is the 3 talents control art that you cultivated? The Rain Transformation Master stiffly replied, the original copy has been destroyed. So it was like that. Apart from the top sex, if other people obtained this level of technique, they would most likely destroy it. It was safest to keep it in his mind. Tell me the mantra of the 3 talents control art. Lung Shiqi ordered. Then, the Rain Transformation Master said the technique word by word. Lung Shiqi naturally recorded it all in his mind. This technique was quite mysterious. It cultivated the power of ice, wind, and thunder. It was also the power of yin and yang and the power of the 5 elements that directly connected to the origin of the world. Unfortunately, the 3 talents control art only cultivated these 3 powers separately and then used their strengths to make up for their weaknesses. It looked very strong, but in Lung Shiqi's eyes, it was only superficial. He also didn't know why Xiahou Ba wanted this technique. Lung Shiqi wasn't interested in delving into this point. He also planned to cultivate this cultivation technique. It would be a waste if he didn't learn it. After all, it was a rank 8 cultivation technique. But before that, he had to confirm the guess in his heart. He asked, what is your real identity? Is it related to the Nether Temple? The Rain Transformation Master nodded and said, I was originally from the Starfall Kingdom. Because I offended many people, I could only change my appearance and escape to the 6 kingdoms of the West. Later, I became an outer disciple of the Nether Temple. It was also with their help that I broke through to the Sky Origin Realm. They asked me to use a secret technique to slowly control the Bailu kingdom. In the future, they will secretly control the Bailu kingdom. It turned out that the Rain Transformation Master was really from the Nether Temple. Lung Shichi smiled. It seems that the Nether Temple and I both have designs on the 6 kingdoms of the West. Interesting. Chapter 836. However, Lung Shichi felt that the Nether Temple didn't need to waste so much effort. Even a Heaven Origin Stage cultivator like the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master could only be regarded as an outer disciple. The terror of the Nether Temple could be imagined. They only needed to send a few masters to secretly control the Bailu country. He couldn't guess the purpose of the Nether Temple. Even if he could guess it, it was useless. What he could do now was to slow down the pace of attacking the Bailu country and further improve his strength. So he sat down cross-legged and prepared to cultivate the art of tripartite control. In the blink of an eye, several days passed. The people at the border of the Bailu country didn't see the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master. After careful investigation, they found that several disciples of the Rain Transformation building had died, and the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master had disappeared without a trace. This caused a panic in the Bailu country. At this moment, Lung Shichi was still cultivating the art of tripartite control. He had the system, so cultivating a cultivation method was just a blink of an eye. However, he didn't use the system, but comprehended and cultivated on his own. Now that he had a basic understanding of the cultivation method, Lung Shichi was stunned. An 8th-level cultivation method was precious and could improve his strength, but that was not the reason why he was stunned. It was because he seemed to see a path vaguely. Lung Shichi's mind suddenly lit up. He moved his mind and came to the edge of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Looking at the place that controlled the reincarnation, his eyes suddenly flashed with a dazzling light. Then, the black and white power of yin and yang surged around him, splitting the sky and earth. Suddenly, thousands of miles were frozen, the wind raged in the air, and thunder exploded. A fire phoenix soared into the sky, a white tiger stepped on the sky, a water dragon roared, and a black tortoise guarded the mountain. These several forces and the 6 paths of reincarnation filled the sky and earth. Lung Shichi's eyes turned gold and silver. In his eyes, these forces were actually strange threads. He just watched, allowing all of the power to surge. 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, half a month. He didn't move, and even the look in his eyes didn't change like a stone statue. Fortunately, he was the Lord of Underworld, and there was an endless supply of spiritual energy in Underworld for him to use. Otherwise, he would have already died from exhaustion. Only after several months had passed did he finally make a move. Lung Shichi pointed with his finger, and the black and white streams of light immediately fused together like a millstone that stirred up heaven and earth. In an instant, it formed a yin-yang pattern that covered the sky above the mansion of the dead. He took a step forward, and then the violent energies of ice crystals, divine lightning, and Nirvana astral wind fused together in a strange manner. In the end, they formed a mysterious mark that emitted 3 colors. Immediately after, the fire phoenix, water dragon, white tiger, and black tortoise roared into the sky as they transformed into 4 streams of light. 4 spirits, array diagram. Finally, the 6 paths of reincarnation of the underworld began to slowly rotate. The power of reincarnation spread out and turned into 6 giant eyes of different shapes floating behind Lung Shichi. The strange light in his eyes slowly faded and was replaced by a look of joy. A few months ago, after Lung Shichi cultivated the 3 talents imperial art, he felt that there was a lot of room for improvement in this technique. He didn't have anything important to do at the moment, so he decided to continue comprehending it. He had also cultivated the 3 powers of ice, wind, and thunder before, so it only took him a month to successfully fuse the 3 powers and comprehend a unique skill, the 3-talent seal. However, he didn't end his cultivation. Instead, he suddenly remembered that he had unintentionally mastered a similar power. That was the power of yin and yang, the power of the four symbols, and the power of the six paths of reincarnation that existed in Underworld. Yin and yang opened heaven and earth. The three talents gave birth to all things. The four symbols suppressed the eight wastelands. The five elements determined the universe, and the six paths of reincarnation. A world relied on these powers to maintain itself, and Lung Shiqi had unknowingly mastered more than half of these powers. Although he may have only grasped the surface, it had pointed him toward a path. The path that he had always wanted to find was the path to the origin of the world. After several months of comprehension, he had already deduced the power of yin and yang, three talents for symbols, and six paths to the extreme that he could control. He had even comprehended the eye of six paths from the six paths of reincarnation. He could borrow a certain power from the outside world to obtain different abilities. Unfortunately, no one had tried it yet, and he didn't have the time to try it either, because the path he wanted to take was still missing an important link. That was the power of the five elements. What he needed to do next was to comprehend the power of the five elements as soon as possible, and then combine the power of yin and yang, three talents for symbols, five elements, and six paths to break through to the heavenly origin stage. Lung Shiqi knew that it was extremely difficult and dangerous to fuse these powers that were close to the origin of the world. However, he also knew that once he broke through to the heavenly origin stage using this method, his strength would skyrocket. Not only that, this path would directly touch the power of the laws of heaven and earth. In a sense, when he reached the heavenly origin stage, he would directly reach the Tongxian stage. He actually planned to skip the heavenly origin stage. It had to be said that Lung Shiqi had a big plan. He called this method of breaking through the heavenly origin stage Dao unification, merging the laws of heaven and earth. Now, what he needed most was to find a place where he could comprehend the power of the five elements. He knew where that place was. That was the minor five elements chaos paradise. This secret treasure of the Thunderblaze dynasty was created with the power of the five elements. For Lung Shiqi, it was simply a paradise that was tailor-made for him. Moreover, this item was in the hands of his soul clone, Lei Haoyin, so it would be easy for him to take it. The problem was that Lung Shiqi was too far away from his soul clone, so he could not directly communicate with him. Even if he could communicate with him, it would take a long time for the minor chaos paradise to be sent over. It would be better for Lung Shiqi to take it himself. Thunderblaze Dynasty Imperial Capital, Discipline Department. Delta Orgi was in seclusion in her secret room. The room was filled with the smell of blood, and there were four ferocious blood shadows standing around her. Three of them were the ones she had used to massacre people in Zhulu country. At this moment, Delta Orgi was concentrating on forming a seal, and a blood-colored seal was sent into the blood shadow in front of her. This blood shadow's body had just taken shape, but its face was still very blurry. Even its facial features were still missing, and it was all crooked. However, as the seal continued, the blood shadow's face slowly became clearer. Delta Orgi's lips curled into a smile. At this moment, her expression changed slightly. Immediately after, she withdrew the seal, and her figure suddenly disappeared. A breath later, she returned, and Lung Shiqi appeared with her. Lung Shiqi had used the underworld to ask Delta Orgi to help him open an exit in the imperial capital, allowing him to instantly arrive there. Delta Orgi tilted her head and asked, "Is something the matter?" "Yes, I came to take something." Lung Shiqi was about to leave when he saw the blood shadow from before. His body immediately stopped. The appearance of this blood shadow was actually somewhat similar to Lung Shiqi. Chapter 837. Although the blood shadow's facial features had not been completely reshaped, it looked somewhat similar to Lung Shiqi. He looked at the other blood shadows in the four corners and said with some surprise, You didn't turn me into a blood shadow, did you? It's difficult. Delta Orgy did not deny it. Instead, she looked worried. The three next to you were refined with the blood essence of masters and the oneness of heaven and men realm that I secretly obtained. You are also in the oneness of heaven and men realm, but I don't know why you can't successfully condense a blood shadow. This is the closest you have ever been to success, but unfortunately, you're still a little short. Lung Shichi pondered for a moment. He did not know the rules of Delta Orgy's secret method, but he thought of a possibility. That was, the blood essence he gave Delta Orgy was different every time. They were all his blood essence, but they were blood essence of different realms and strengths. The first time he gave Delta Orgy blood essence, it was when Lung Shichi roped Delta Orgy into the underworld. At that time, he was only in the gang spirit realm. Although the next two times he was in the oneness of heaven and men realm. Lung Shichi's body had undergone tremendous changes after passing through the demonic Miasma Mountain. Therefore, the quality of the blood essence Delta Orgy received was actually uneven. Perhaps this was the reason why she could not condense a blood shadow. Therefore, Lung Shichi took out dozens of drops of blood essence without hesitation and then left without waiting for Delta Orgy to say anything. Delta Orgy was stunned. It was naturally a good thing to have the blood essence, but she was more concerned that Lung Shichi seemed to be in a hurry this time. What could make him so anxious? Since Lung Shichi did not take the initiative to say, she did not ask and continued to study the blood shadow secret method. After a while, Lung Shichi came to the study of Lei Haoyin's soul doppelganger. The surrounding formation had been removed. Otherwise, even if Lung Shichi was good at hiding, he would be discovered. When he entered the study, there were already 3 items placed on the desk of his soul avatar. They were a bracelet, a bead, and 2 jade slips. Everything is ready. The soul avatar pointed at the 3 items on the table. Lung Shichi picked up the bracelet first. This was the main purpose of his trip, the minor chaos paradise. That pearl was purple and red, and it was none other than the heavenly thunderfire pearl that had been resealed. His soul avatar had risked the entire world to go into seclusion for the sake of this heavenly thunderfire pearl. Now, there were only 3 restrictions on the heavenly thunderfire pearl. Every time a restriction was removed, a portion of the pearl's power would be activated. The method to remove the restriction was in that jade slip. As for the other jade slip, it contained the insights of the heavenly origin stage experts of the Thunderflame dynasty, and it was related to the 5 elements. None of these things contained the complete power of the 5 elements. At most, they contained 2 or 3 types of power. For the Lung Shichi, they could also be used by analogy. After receiving the items, Lung Shichi prepared to go back into seclusion, but his soul avatar coughed dryly. "What's the matter?" Lung Shichi asked. In fact, he knew what the soul avatar was thinking, but if the soul avatar was deliberately acting, he would still cooperate. Not long after I came out of seclusion, the impeachment reports piled up like a mountain. You should think of a way to fool them. The matter that the soul avatar was referring to was naturally Lung Shichi's actions of dominating the Western Desolation Province. This matter had happened for a full year, but the ministers still did not let it go. Let them make trouble. I don't have time to care about them recently. Lung Shichi did not plan to care about this. Comprehending the power of the 5 elements was the most important thing. Even so, there needs to be a reason. Take a look at this. The soul avatar took out a memorial. Lung Shichi quickly scanned it and sneered. "Humph, the Northern Wei dynasty actually imitated me and organized a 1,000-spirit gathering and even found us. That's right. The Northern Wei dynasty invited all the spirit cultivators in the world to participate in the 1,000-spirit gathering. The Northern Wei dynasty is the weakest among the 3 dynasties, and their foundation is the weakest. Originally, not many people were willing to participate. However, the people ranked at the top of this 1,000-spirit gathering actually have the chance to enter the Ashen Aeon world to cultivate. This is the foundation of the Northern Wei dynasty, so it's really a big deal. Now, that all the spirit cultivator sects and rogue cultivator experts on the continent have been attracted, the dynasty naturally has to send people. Last time, when Zhuozhou sneaked into the Demon Miatha mountain range, we only asked for a large amount of resources from the Northern Wei dynasty. We didn't ask for too much, so the Northern Wei dynasty specially gave us a large number of spots. The Dark Thunder Guards, the Discipline Division, and the Royal Consecration Hall all have people going. It's good for you to go as a prince. I know you want to immediately enter seclusion to comprehend the power of the 5 elements, but haste makes waste. You have just comprehended the tripartite seal and the eye of the 6 paths, which is already your limit. The so-called path of cultivation is relaxed, so there's no need to rush. Besides, you can enter the Ashenean world if you get a good ranking in the 1,000 Spirit Gathering. It's also a good opportunity to increase your strength. The Soul Avatar was trying to persuade Lung Shiqi. The conversation between the two of them was equivalent to talking to themselves. This wasn't very strange. It was just like when a person encountered something they couldn't decide on, there would be 2 voices in their heart. It all depended on who could persuade who in the end. Lung Shiqi began to hesitate. The Soul Avatar was right. He was indeed a little too eager for success. It didn't seem like a bad idea to make a trip to the Northern Wei dynasty. In particular, the Ashenean world was very attractive to him. The reason why the Northern Wei dynasty could become the 3rd dynasty under the noses of the Starfall dynasty and the Thunderblaze dynasty was because of Sword Saint Song Yuan. Sword Saint Song Yuan was a sacred spirit expert from tens of thousands of years ago. He was a supreme expert in this world. He was also the last sacred spirit expert recorded in the history of the Starfall continent. After him, no one else became a sacred spirit. Perhaps there was, but it wasn't known. Sword Saint Song Yuan later disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he went. He didn't even have a disciple's legacy. It was as if he had disappeared from the world. It wasn't until a few hundred years ago that the ancestors of the Northern Wei dynasty accidentally discovered a portion of Sword Saint Song Yuan's legacy, which was the Ashenean world. Since then, the Northern Wei dynasty suddenly rose. In just a few decades, it became the 3rd dynasty of the continent. And the winner of this myriad spirit gathering was qualified to enter the Ashenean world. Who could resist such a reward? It was impossible for Lung Shiqi not to be tempted. The news of the myriad spirit gathering has just spread, because the Northern Wei dynasty has invited all the spirit cultivators in the world, including those who are still alive. In order to give them time to travel, the myriad spirit gathering is specially set to be held a year later. You don't have to go into seclusion and cultivate for about a year. In any case, 9 Leave is in the Northern Wei dynasty. When the time comes, you can directly teleport over through the underworld. As long as you agree to go, I can also use you to send away those ministers. It can be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The Soul Avatar continued to add. Lung Shiqi had already begun to waver. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt something strange in the underworld. His mind instantly sank into the underworld, and he saw 9 Leave lying on the ground with wounds all over his body. Chapter 838. Lung Shiqi was shocked. He had seen 9 Leave's strength when they seized Zhu Lugua. Although her cultivation had not fully recovered, her strength was definitely comparable to the middle stage of Heaven Origin Realm. Who could injure her to this extent? Senior 9 Leave, what happened? Lung Shiqi hurriedly asked. 9 Leave's blood-stained face gritted her teeth and said, "It's all because of those bastards from the Blood Beast sect. They couldn't beat me one by one, so they joined forces with the Imperial Beast Abode and Northern Wei Empire to ambush me. Fortunately, there was the underworld mystic realm. Otherwise, I would have died." Lung Shiqi couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He knew that 9 Leave had left Northern Wei Empire to take revenge on the Blood Beast Abode and the Imperial Beast Abode. Now, 9 Leave had actually made the 2 top sects, who had always been her sworn enemies, join forces and even drag Northern Wei Empire into it. Only the heavens knew how much evil 9 Leave had done in Northern Wei Empire. Perhaps Nine Leave would have been careful in the past, but after she could enter the underworld mystic realm at any time, she became arrogant and wantonly slaughtered the disciples of the two sects, causing them to lose a large number of elite disciples. Even some elders and higher-ups had died at her hands. It would be strange if she wasn't surrounded and killed. Lung Shiqi stretched out his hand and drew in a large amount of black gas, saying, "Senior, this energy can help you recover quickly. You can go out after you recover." Recovering is a small matter. The key is that the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast Abode are now fully prepared. It will be extremely difficult to take revenge on them. Nine Leaf sighed and shook her head. It seemed that she hadn't killed enough. Then, she glanced at Lung Shiqi and smiled, saying, "If you have nothing to do now, come to Northern Wei Empire." Lung Shiqi immediately had a bad premonition. He hurriedly said, "My identity is too conspicuous. It's inconvenient for me to enter Northern Wei Empire." "Forget it. You could just teleport over from my side." "What a perfunctory excuse." Nine Leaves said disdainfully, "I helped you fight last time. This time, it's your turn. Right now, your strength is not inferior to mine. Once my injuries are healed, we can wreak havoc in the Northern Wei Empire." Lung Shiqi face-bombed. Julie really didn't mind making a big deal out of it. It was one thing to deal with the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast Abode, but how could the Northern Wei Empire be as simple as it seemed on the surface? However, the last time Nine Leave came to Zhu Road Country to help him, he didn't get any benefits. Lung Shiqi came as soon as he was called. This favor had to be acknowledged. Perhaps at that time, Nine Leave had already planned to call Lung Shiqi over, so he came so quickly. This could be considered a form of reciprocity. Lung Shiqi really couldn't refuse. It seems that this trip to the Northern Wei Empire is a must, Lung Shiqi thought to himself. Then he said to Nine Leave, "Senior Nine Leave, please recover as soon as possible." Hee, at least you still have some conscience. Nine Leave knew that Lung Shiqi had agreed. "However, our strength is about the same, so don't call me senior. Just call me Nine Leave." "All right." Lung Shiqi didn't argue. In this world, strength was respected. Strength was far more important than seniority. Then, Lung Shiqi's consciousness returned to his main body. His soul clone was still waiting for his answer. "I'll go to the Northern Wei Empire." With that, Lung Shiqi was about to turn and leave, but his footsteps suddenly stopped. He turned and asked, "Have you found your path?" The soul clone's expression stiffened slightly. Then he smiled and took out a pearl. It was the other heavenly Thunderfire pearl. "I'm not as ambitious as you. I'll be satisfied if I can fully comprehend the heavenly Thunderfire pearl and grasp a trace of the law of Thunderfire and break through to the mystic comprehending realm." The soul clone had possessed Lei Haoyan. This body's cultivation talent was already very high. Furthermore, it had refined the purple crystal frost flame. It had a high chance of breaking through to the heaven origin realm. Not long ago, the soul clone had been in the dragon vein, setting up restrictions on the heavenly Thunderfire pearl. During that time, it had absorbed a lot of the dragon vein's power. Now, its cultivation had reached the late stage of unity of heaven and man. It was qualified to find its own path to the heaven origin realm. That was why Lung Shiqi asked this question. He pondered for a moment and said, "You have the purple crystal frost flame. If you can obtain a thunder-type mutated beast with the heavenly Thunderfire pearl, I believe it won't be long before you break through to the heaven origin realm." Heavenly Venerable Black Flame once gave me information about the divine thunder of Oblivion. It's in the northern wastelands outside the Northern Wei Empire. I'll go get it for you. The soul clone's expression changed. He shook his head and said, "You also have the crimson gold earth dragon flame. If you can refine the divine thunder of Oblivion, you can also unleash the power of the heavenly Thunderfire pearl. It can be considered a big trump card." Lung Shiqi didn't say anything. Instead, he looked deeply at the soul clone. After a while, he said, "I've found my own path. The heavenly Thunderfire pearl is nothing more than an external object. The divine thunder of Oblivion is more suitable for you." Lung Shiqi walked out. When he was about to walk out of the room, a sentence floated over with the wind. I'll call you Lei Haoyan from now on. The soul clone, Lei Haoyan's hands trembled in his sleeves. A strange light flashed in his eyes. When he saw Lung Shiqi completely disappear, he suddenly panted. After Lung Shiqi left the palace, his expression was a bit heavy. He felt that something was wrong when he saw the soul clone this time. Perhaps it was because too much time had passed between them, causing the soul clone to only have his own thoughts. Over time, there was a sense of unfamiliarity between them. This unfamiliarity also caused a gap to form in their hearts. In other words, the soul clone already had his own thoughts. He was no longer a pure clone, and he didn't want to continue being a clone. The conversation between the two just now was a signal. Originally, the two didn't need to talk to each other. Their thoughts were the same. The soul clone wanted to use this method to tell Lung Shiqi his thoughts. Lung Shiqi also understood. However, he didn't want to destroy the soul clone just because it had its own thoughts. Everything had a spirit, so it was reasonable for it to exist. Since the soul clone had its own independent personality, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. He might be able to walk further down the path in the future. Moreover, that was a part of Lung Shiqi's soul power. Since he could give it away, he could naturally take it back. If he found out that the soul clone didn't know what was good for him, then he could only blame himself. Therefore, Lung Shiqi decided to give the soul clone a chance. That was why he said those words before he left. From that moment onwards, the soul clone had his own name, Lei Haoyan, the emperor of the Thunderfire dynasty, Lei Haoyan. After getting what he wanted, Lung Shiqi greeted the Delta Orgi and returned to Zhu Lu through the underworld. He went directly to Princess Carol's side. Before he went to the Northern Wei Empire, he had to settle everything. Chapter 839. Over the past few months, Princess Carol had taken complete control of the Zhu Lu country, especially when the ground army turned the tables and seized the 2 cities and 6 towns of the Pai Lu country. Everyone in the Zhu Lu country was shocked. The Zhu Lu country had a history of several hundred years, but the number of times they had expanded their territory could be counted on one hand. The last time they expanded their territory was 100 years ago, and Queen Carol had suddenly become the queen of 100 years. This time, there was no need for Lung Shiqi's arrangements. From the ministers to the commoners, they all praised Queen Carol's brilliance. Even though the ministers didn't know what was going on, Carol was filled with a sense of mystery in their hearts. Seeing Lung Shiqi appear, Carol's expression did not change as she said crisply, "What orders?" Lung Shiqi narrowed his eyes. This Carol was becoming more and more difficult to deal with. Don't push the Pai Lu country too hard. The Zhu Lu country does not have the appetite to swallow the Pai Lu country in one go. Moreover, I heard that there is a powerful force hidden in the Pai Lu country. This matter needs to be considered at length. Carol frowned and continued, I know that we can't rush to swallow the Pai Lu country. If we develop slowly, I'm afraid it will take 10 years before we can do it. Not necessarily. You should know what the Indian army and ground army of the Zhu Lu country lack the most. Lung Shiqi smiled mysteriously. What they lack the most? Carol revealed a pondering look. Then her eyes widened as she said 2 words, refined iron. Yes, refined iron. When Lung Shiqi was still a small supervisor in the Western Desolate Prefecture, he encountered the Zhu Lu country smuggling refined iron from the Thunderflame dynasty. Later on, he came to the Zhu Lu country to investigate this matter and experience the Battle of Gugad Peak. With the Zhu Lu country's national strength, supporting the Indian army and ground army of 50,000 was already the limit. In a situation where they could not expand, they naturally had to find ways to improve. Slowly raising the strength of the troops was very slow. The fastest and most obvious way was to equip them with stronger weapons and armors. Unfortunately, the Zhu Lu country did not have refined iron veins, so they could not forge stronger weapons and armors. This severely limited the overall strength of the Zhu Lu country. But now it was nothing. Lung Shiqi said, You personally choose a few trustworthy people to be in charge of purchasing refined iron from the West Baron Prefecture. As long as the price is right, you can have as much refined iron as you want. We'll store up grain and train our soldiers when the time is right. I understand. Carol knew that once Zhu Lu country had a large amount of fine iron, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Of course, the forging of fine iron weapons had to be done secretly. When attacking the Beilu kingdom, it would be a surprise attack. After arranging the matters in Zhulugua, Lung Shiqi instantly arrived at the Western Wasteland King's mansion through Ozu's exit. This time, he left for a few months. Fortunately, his deterrence to the West Desolate Prefecture was great enough, so there were no major disturbances. On the other hand, the various factions in the West Baron Prefecture were very cautious. They thought that the Lung Shiqi would cause trouble in the West Baron Prefecture, but who would have thought that in the next few months, the Lung Shiqi would not even show his face? It seemed that they were overthinking. The Lung Shiqi was not in the West Baron Prefecture at all. Lung Shiqi appeared in Ozu's room. The current Ozu status in the Western Wasteland King's mansion was not low. He was equivalent to the deputy stewards under his command. However, he did not manage much and spent more time cultivating, as well as deducing. Ever since Ozu obtained the inheritance of the king of Lunjuan, he had the ability to deduce all things. The first thing he said when he saw Lung Shiqi was, "You're going to the Northern Wei dynasty." This sentence was not a question, but a statement. It was as if Ozu had long known that Lung Shiqi was going to the Northern Wei dynasty. Lung Shiqi turned his head. Ozu was sitting cross-legged on a futon with a charlatan expression on his face. "Did you calculate this?" "You can say that. I advise you not to go," Ozu said mysteriously. "Why?" Lung Shiqi raised his eyebrows. "Don't say that I'm going to have a bloody disaster." Ozu was silent for a moment, wanting to say something but hesitating. Lung Shiqi was stunned. "Could it be that I was right? Last time during the battle in Zhulugua, your strength was too strong. I tried to deduce your heavenly secrets, but your heavenly secrets were like a chaotic vortex. It was impossible to pry into them at all." Ozu explained, "But not long ago, something happened. Your heavenly secrets actually flowed into the distance and disappeared. And in that direction is the north. If the heavenly secrets disappeared, it naturally meant that he was dead." From Ozu's deduction, Lung Shiqi seemed to be going to die in the north. Lung Shiqi did not believe it when he heard it. First of all, he did not believe in the so-called heavenly secrets. He firmly believed that his fate was up to him and not the heavens. Moreover, with his current strength, unless a Tongxian realm cultivator attacked him with all his strength, he might not even be able to force him to escape into the underworld. With his strength and an invincible, life-saving trump card like the underworld, who could kill him? The Northern Wei Empire also had a Tongxian realm expert, but that person was like the Thunderblaze Empire's old master Qiao. He would not appear unless the empire was on the brink of destruction. Lung Shiqi believed that he was just going to the Northern Wei Empire to take a stroll and help Nine Leave fight. It was unlikely that a Tongxian realm expert would appear. That's all I have to say. As for whether you believe me or not, it's up to you. With that said, Ozu closed his eyes. Lung Shiqi strolled back to his study and began handling some matters. However, he was always worried. Ozu's words kept lingering in his ears. He was a person who cherished his life, but at the same time, he was a person who risked his life. Along the way, he had experienced countless life and death situations. It was unknown how many times he had been on the brink of death before he achieved what he had today. He had 3 goals for his trip to the Northern Wei Empire: to participate in the Myriad Spirit Meet and obtain a spot to enter the Ashen Aeon world. To avenge Nine Leave, he also had to collect the Divine Lightning of Annihilation. Therefore, he had to make this trip. He could not back down because of his so-called heavenly secret. After making up his mind, Lung Shiqi's eyes became even more resolute. As a person who had lived 2 lives, he had long stopped believing in heavens. He wanted to see who could kill him. Following that, he specially used a day to deal with all the matters. He also began to prepare for seclusion. This time, he planned to enter seclusion for a year until the myriad spirit meet was about to begin. However, from the various matters he dealt with, the western desolate province was becoming less and less peaceful. After his seclusion, he had to travel to the Northern Wei Empire. It could be said that he had not done anything in the 2 years since he became the Western Desolate King. This way, his prestige might slowly decrease. In order to prevent anyone from causing trouble, he had to find a person before he entered seclusion. That person was the Azure Thunder Army's commander, Xiahou Ba. Chapter 840. Xiahou Ba was not in a good mood recently. He was drinking alone. The cause was the defeat of Beilu country by Zhu Lu country a few months ago. He did not care about the fight between the two small countries. The key was that the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master had mysteriously died because of it. The 3 talents Imperial Art was in the hands of the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master. Now that he was dead, it was unknown who had taken the art. Trying to find it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. General, someone wants to see you. A guard reported from outside. Xiahou Ba said impatiently, I don't want to see anyone. Brother Xiahou, you don't even want to see me? I specially brought good wine. Lung Shiqi's voice came from outside. Xiahou Ba suddenly raised his head. A trace of joy appeared on his face, but he immediately sighed. So it's Brother Lung, King of the Western Wilderness. Please come in. Lung Shiqi walked in with a smile and said, Brother Xiahou, you don't look very happy. I have prepared some gifts. I hope you don't mind. He took out a jade slip and threw it over. Xiahou Ba's heart moved. He caught it in his hand and sank his spirit into the jade slip. He immediately saw 4 floating words, 3 talents Imperial Art. 3 talents Imperial Art. You actually found this art. Xiahou Ba was surprised and happy. He originally thought that he would never get this art. Just when he was full of worry, Lung Shiqi gave it to him. This made Xiahou Ba, who had been longing for 3 talents Imperial Art, so happy that he did not care about his identity. He suddenly had a thought. Since the rain-forming Heavenly Master was already dead, then where did Lung Shiqi get the cultivation method? Or was it Lung Shiqi who killed the Rain Transformation Heavenly Master? Lung Shiqi did not explain further and let Xiahou Ba guess blindly. Brother Xiahou, I wonder if you're satisfied with this gift. Ha ha ha! Xiahou Ba laughed heartily. He put his arm around Lung Shiqi's shoulder and said, Brother, from now on, you're my brother. I don't dare to promise you anything else, but if you have any trouble in the Western Wilderness Prefecture, I can solve it for you. Lung Shiqi thought that Xiahou Ba was too realistic. Of course, this was exactly what he wanted. He said, Speaking of which, I do have something to trouble Brother Xiahou. Just say it. Xiahou Ba seemed to have a plan in mind. He beckoned with his hand, looking heroic. His Majesty has already ordered me to go to the Northern Wei Empire to participate in the All-Spirit Gathering. Lung Shiqi revealed his worries about leaving the Thunderflame Empire. Hearing that, Xiahou Ba agreed without hesitation. So it's just a small matter. Brother Lung, don't worry, our Western Wasteland Province has always kept a close eye on those spirit cultivator sects. No matter how much courage they have, they wouldn't dare to provoke the Western Wasteland King's mansion. As such, Lung Shiqi was relieved. Brother Lung, since you brought the 3 talents Imperial Art, according to our agreement, you can take this jade scroll. What was recorded inside was Xiahou Ba's self-created fist technique, Tyrannical Barrier. After completing the transaction, Lung Shiqi exchanged a few pleasantries and left. After going through so much trouble, he finally had time to go into seclusion. The first thing he did was to enter the minor 5 elements Chaos Paradise. He had already been here 3 times. The first time was when he participated in the elite meeting. The last time was when he hid his identity to participate in the first Spirit Cultivator Conference. And now, the minor 5 elements Chaos Paradise was in his hands. Lung Shiqi went straight to the most mysterious chaotic area. He then sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend the power of the 5 elements. time passed quietly without anyone noticing. A year later, Northern Wei Empire, Wei capital. The Northern Wei Empire's capital was naturally smaller than the Thunderfire Empire's, but it was still a rare megacity. However, even such a large city was currently overcrowded. It was because the myriad spirit gathering held by the Northern Wei Empire was about to begin. This myriad spirit gathering could be considered the most lively event in the entire Falling Star continent in recent years. Last time, the first spirit cultivator assembly of the Thunderfire Imperial Dynasty was basically targeted at the spirit cultivators within their borders. Furthermore, the winners did not receive much other than fame. The myriad spirit gathering was different. The Northern Wei Empire was willing to use the Ashen Aeon realm as a reward. Everyone who came to participate in the myriad spirit gathering was aiming for the Ashen Aeon realm. In the Wei capital, a man and a woman were walking together in the bustling crowd. The man was dressed in black. He was handsome and tall, and his every move exuded the aura of a superior. He was Lung Shiqi, who had been in seclusion for a long time. For the past year, he had been comprehending the power of the 5 elements in the minor 5 elements chaos paradise. He had made some progress, but it was far from enough. Now that he thought about it, it was a rare opportunity for him to comprehend the power of 3 through the 3 talents imperial art. After a long period of meditation, Lung Shiqi felt a little anxious and irritated. It was good to come out for a walk. This is the first time I've come to the Wei capital after being in the Northern Wei Empire for so long. If it weren't for the myriad spirit gathering, I wouldn't have been able to enter. The one who spoke was the enchanting woman. She was 9 Leave. 9 Leave had completely recovered her cultivation. A few days ago, Lung Shiqi came out of seclusion. 9 Leave had been recuperating in the underworld for the past year. Perhaps it was because of this injury that her cultivation had improved, allowing her to recover to the realm of a stage 7 great demon. Lung Shiqi contributed a lot of advancement pills, allowing 9 Leave to completely recover her cultivation in just a few days. 9 Leave's strength was close to the middle stage of the heavenly origin realm after obtaining Ghost Emperor Yao Ye's inheritance. Now that she had recovered to the 7th stage, her strength was probably comparable to the late stage of the heavenly origin realm. As for Lung Shiqi himself, he wasn't sure how strong he was now. After all, he hadn't used the tripartite Dharma seal and the Eye of the 6 Paths. He could use the myriad spirit gathering to find an opponent to test. As he walked, he said, "The Wei capital is smaller than the Thunderblaze Empire, but the defenses are not low. Normally, with your stage 7 great demon aura, you would be discovered before you even got close. The little thing you gave me doesn't have much battle strength, but it's very good at hiding aura." 9 Leave was talking about the Gu King that Lung Shiqi hadn't used for a long time. He had lent the Gu King to 9 Leave to hide her demonic aura, which was why they could enter the Wei capital. Soon, the two walked into a 7-story, tall, gorgeous building. This was the Thunderblaze Empire's encampment in the Wei capital. Lung Shiqi didn't deliberately change his appearance, so he was recognized as soon as he walked in. A group of people immediately came over to greet him. "Greetings, Your Highness." One of them was short and fat and looked very tactful. He walked forward and said, "I am Ban Ning. Your residence has already been arranged. Please follow me, Your Highness." Lung Shiqi didn't say anything and walked away. Everyone saw 9 Leave, but no one said anything. It was normal for the King of the West to have a beauty by his side. Ban Ning didn't stop talking along the way. He even introduced some of the rules of the Myriad Spirit Gathering to Lung Shiqi. The rules of the Myriad Spirit Gathering were very different from the world's first Spirit Cultivator Gathering. Back then, Lung Shiqi went through a few rounds of auditions in various cities. Only the experts who advanced in the end were qualified to come to the imperial capital. However, the Myriad Spirit Gathering was different. Anyone who was willing to participate could directly come to the Wei capital to sign up. The biggest difference was that there was no restriction on cultivation realm. In other words, even if you were in the spirit transformation realm, you could also participate in the 4 realms of heaven and man unity realm. The premise was that you had to know your own limits. This was specially prepared for those who had the ability to fight above their realm. Of course, there were very few of them, and Lung Shiqi was one of them. Chapter 841. Lung Shiqi was preparing to directly participate in the competition of Tianyuan realm. With his current strength, it would be meaningless to fight with those in the oneness of heaven and men realm. It would be pure bullying. He was not afraid of exposing his strength. On the contrary, he just wanted to stand out and draw some people out. Banning arranged for Lung Shiqi in 9 leave to stay in an extremely luxurious room. Then, he left with a meaningful smile and tactfully left. In the end, Lung Shiqi specially said that he would not see any guests recently, and no one was allowed to disturb him. The smile on Banning's face became wider. 9 leave picked up a fruit on the table and said while eating, "It seems that the Thunderfire Dynasty attaches great importance to this all-spirits meeting." Since entering here, 9 leave had found a large number of masters, most of whom were young people. Lung Shiqi rolled his eyes and saw many acquaintances. Delta Orgi also came. To his surprise, Delta Orgi's cultivation had already reached the peak of Gang Spirit Realm. She could try to break through to the oneness of heaven and men realm. He clearly remembered that when he went to the Imperial capital to get the small Chaos Cave of 5 elements last time, Delta Orgi was still at the late stage of Gang Spirit Realm. It was only a year later that she reached the peak. Lung Shiqi took a closer look and found that Delta Orgi's spiritual aura was mixed with a few traces of blood chi. He thought to himself, could it be that her blood shadow secret method has been perfected and thus she broke through a small realm? In addition to Delta Orgi, several deputy directors of the Dark Thunder Guard and Wu Diao were also here. The people of the Discipline Commission were almost the same. Zhuge Puha and Dichuan were also here. The 5 members of the elite society had actually gathered here. These people were all people with great potential. The Thunderfire Dynasty also wanted to use the All Spirits meeting as an opportunity to train them. What surprised Lung Shiqi the most was that there were 3 experts in the Tianyuan realm in the restaurant. 2 of them were very strange. He had never seen them before. The other one was very familiar. That was the expert of the Imperial Hall of Worship of the Thunderfire Dynasty, who was also the old man of the elite club. Among the 2 strangers, one of them had a huge spiritual aura that was like a volcanic eruption, which made people dare not look directly at him. He must be at the top level of Sky Origin stage. This time, the Thunderflame Dynasty was really going all out. They even sent someone at the peak of the Heavenly Origin stage. However, thinking about it, the chaos Shuizhou had caused in the demonic Miasma Mountain range had infuriated the ministers of the Thunderflame Dynasty. Taking advantage of the All Spirits gathering, they sent a Sky Origin Stage cultivator to the Northern Wei Kingdom to crush the Sky Origin Stage cultivators. Since Shuizhou, the head of the consecrated hall, was dead, how many more peak-level Sky Origin Stage cultivators could the Northern Wei Empire send out? Seeing these people, Lung Shiqi did not take the initiative to look for them. He had more important things to do. Lung Shiqi turned his head and said to 9 leave, "The Myriad Spirit Gathering will officially begin in 5 days. We have to use these few days to prepare everything." 9 leave understood and said fiercely, "Let's go to the Blood Beast sect first. They're the ones who beat me up the most. It would be best if we can capture Xiepingyu. Xiepingyu is currently in the Wei capital. It won't be easy to kill him. Then let's lure him out. I believe you have a way." 9 leave winked at Lung Shiqi. Lung Shiqi pretended not to see. He opened a system map and saw that the Blood Beast sect was thousands of miles away from the Wei capital. Distance was nothing to him. He could teleport thousands of miles with his Fate ability. Furthermore, he was omnipotent. It would only take him 2 to 4 hours to reach the Blood Beast sect. Then his figure flickered, and another Lung Shiqi appeared. "I'll leave an illusion here. If anything happens, contact me through the underworld at any time." 9 leave picked up another fruit and said, "I don't know what this is called, but it's quite tasty. Go on." With me here, what are you worried about? Lung Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. It's because it's you that I'm worried. He did not say anything and disappeared from the Wei capital in a tricolored light. Soon, Lung Shiqi saw the blood beast sect. It was a mountain range where he could smell the thick smell of blood from afar. He could also vaguely hear the roars of demon beasts. Lung Shiqi stopped and put on the clothes of the Emperor of Feng, though he did not use any seals, but the vitality in his body was rapidly dissipating. In an instant, he was like a lifeless rock. Although he did not comprehend the power of the 5 elements in the year of seclusion, he was more proficient in the spells of the 5 elements. In particular, he had already grasped a trace of the law of earth, which belonged to the 5 elements. Now, even a mystic comprehending expert could not sense his aura. This was also the reason why he could generously give the Gu King to 9 leave. Then Lung Shiqi sank into the ground and easily sneaked into the Blood Beast sect like a fish in water. The Blood Beast sect was worthy of being called one of the top sects in the Northern Wei Empire. They had tens of thousands of disciples, and these people were not just any random Tom, Dick, or Harry. They must have extraordinary talent to be qualified to enter the Blood Beast sect. Lung Shiqi summoned Zhuo's soul beast ghost. He was the sect master of the Blood Beast sect back then, so he was very familiar with this place. Tell me where the Beast Cesspool is. The Beast Cesspool was the place where the Blood Beast sect imprisoned a large number of demon beasts. The foundation of the Blood Beast sect was naturally the demon beasts. They were constantly capturing countless demon beasts from the northern wastelands. However, the captured demon beasts could not be directly refined. Instead, they had to be properly trained to make them more docile. Otherwise, those low-level disciples would not be able to control the demon beasts at all. Those demon beasts were imprisoned in the Beast Cesspool. The purpose of Lung Shiqi's trip was here. Now, more than half of the experts of the Blood Beast sect had gone to the Wei capital. Even the sect master, Situ Huanshu, and the great elder, Xiepingyu, had gone. There were at most 1 or 2 sky origin realm experts left in the sect. If the Beast Cesspool was destroyed at this time, all the demon beasts inside would be released. The Blood Beast sect would definitely be in chaos. One had to know that those demon beasts absolutely hated the people of the Blood Beast sect to the bone. They wanted nothing more than to tear them to pieces. Once there was chaos, the people of the Blood Beast sect would be caught off guard and many would die. However, it was still difficult for the demon beasts in the Beast Cesspool to harm the Blood Beast sect. After all, there were still sky origin realm experts in the Blood Beast sect. Moreover, there were definitely many formations and methods to deal with demon beasts. Lung Shiqi's purpose was to use the chaos in the Beast Cesspool to lure out the experts of the Wei capital. Of course, the sect master and the great elder had to be notified immediately after the chaos. With such a big thing happening, they would more or less send people back. Situ Huanshu, the sect master, would most likely not return. As for the remaining people, Xiepingyu was the most suitable. What Lung Shiqi really wanted to do was to intercept and kill Xiepingyu midway. If Xiepingyu did not return, it did not matter. No matter who it was, he would still kill. Chapter 842. The Ghost Beast pointed in a direction. Lung Shiqi was not in a hurry. The Beast Hell was obviously guarded by strong cultivators, and there were definitely many formations. It was impossible to rush in rashly. If he did not make use of the previous sect master of the Blood Beast sect, it would be a waste of resources. He asked, "Tell me the specific situation of the Beast Hell. It would be best if there's a way to enter smoothly." The Ghost Beast's spiritual sense was not very high, and he spoke a little haltingly. "Master, the Beast Hell is guarded by a Heaven Origin Realm cultivator at all times. There are layers of formations and restrictions. In the past, this servant could quietly enter without being noticed, but after a long time, the holes in the restrictions may have been repaired. This Ghost Beast actually had a way to enter." Lung Shiqi later investigated Zhuo's life. Back then, he secretly got some demonic beasts for experiments. In the beginning, the source of those demonic beasts was very likely the beast hell. This sect master was really not careless in poaching his own family's people. With the ghost beast as an insider, the man and ghost freely traveled through the blood beast sect as if there was no one around. Some of the important places had array formations, but the beast ghosts were always able to quietly create a small hole in the array formations. That was why no one noticed them, even after they entered the beast hell. The beast hell was built under the blood beast sect and had a total of 3 floors. The first floor was the largest, and it was filled with low-level demonic beasts. The second floor was mainly for 4th level and 5th level demonic beasts. As for the third floor, it was specially prepared for 6th level demonic beasts. Lung Shiqi and the ghost beast entered the first floor. Strangely, it was not as noisy as he imagined. Instead, it was very quiet. Occasionally, there would be a few low roars of demonic beasts. The ghost beast explained, "These demonic beasts have been put on beast rings and stripped of all their demonic power. They are basically the same as ordinary beasts. Every once in a while, the restrictions in the beast rings will be triggered, making the demonic beasts live a life worse than death, so they're usually very obedient." Lung Shiqi glanced around. The first floor of the beast hell held over 10,000 demonic beasts. Although they were only low-level demonic beasts, if all of them ran out and caused trouble, the blood beast sect would be very busy. How do we destroy the beast cesspool's array formation and those beast hoops? The ghost beast said word by word. This servant has the method to remove the beast ring, but it won't be easy to destroy the array. This beast cesspool is the foundation of the blood beast sect, and only the sect masters of each generation know where the core of the array is. Situ Huanshu must have already changed the location of the array core. If he couldn't find the array core, he could only force his way through. It will take at least a few Sky Origin Stage cultivators to break through the beast's cesspool's formation. But if they do that, most of the beasts inside will die. Lung Shiqi was not surprised. The beast cesspool was not a place that could be easily destroyed. Take me to the lower 2 floors first. He wanted to know how many demonic beasts there were down there, especially the 6th rank demonic beasts. Those rank 6 demonic beasts were what Lung Shiqi really wanted. Firstly, he could take revenge on the blood beast sect. Secondly, he could use this opportunity to recruit a few rank 6 demonic beasts. Without any hindrance, they arrived at the 3rd level of the beast cesspool without a hitch. Lung Shiqi looked around. Unexpectedly, this place was empty. He immediately felt that something was wrong. With the blood beast sect strength, it was not difficult to catch a few rank 6 demonic beasts. How could there not be a single one on the 3rd time? Or was it a coincidence that all the demonic beasts here had been taken away for blood refinement? If that was the case, Lung Shiqi could only admit that he was unlucky. He asked the beast ghost, was the 3rd level of the beast cesspool empty like this in the past? This has never happened before. Under any circumstances, the beast cesspool would ensure that there are demonic beasts present. Lung Shiqi felt that it was true. This place was too important to the blood beast sect. If he was in charge of the blood beast sect, he would not leave the beast cesspool empty. At the very least, he would leave 1 or 2 spares. Since the situation had occurred, it meant that something big had happened inside the blood beast sect. The beast ghost wandered around and suddenly raised its hand to point in a direction. "Master, there seems to be another entrance there." There was another entrance? Could it be that there was a 4th level of the beast cesspool? The beast ghost had left the blood beast sect for a long time, so it was reasonable for there to be some changes in the beast cesspool. Lung Shiqi walked to the place the beast ghost pointed at, but he did not find anything. This is a new restriction. This servant does not know how to pass through it. If there is any movement, it will be discovered by the people of the beast cesspool. Lung Shiqi did not understand formations, but he had his own way. Immediately after, his consciousness entered the underworld and communicated with Ozu. You still went. Ozu was naturally referring to Lung Shiqi going to the Northern Wei Empire. Lung Shiqi did not care too much about the so-called heavenly secrets. He said, "Since you're here, let's take things as they come. There's something I need your help with." If I help you, it might be the cause of your death. Are you sure? Oziu said mysteriously. Lung Shichi paused for a moment. Could it be that his sneaking into the Blood Beast sect today was arranged by his fate? I'm just guessing. It's also possible that I won't help you. Who can say for sure? If you really want my help, I'll go with you. Oziu's words became more and more like a fraud. Lung Shichi did not say much and directly brought Oziu to the beast cesspool. Try to help me find the entrance to the next level. It would be best if you could find the formation core here. When he attacked the Thousand Illusionary Sword sect, Oziu had easily calculated the location of the formation core. Therefore, Lung Shichi had planned to ask Oziu for help from the beginning. Oziu nodded slightly. Then, his eyes suddenly turned gray. There seemed to be no life in his eyes. He slowly walked on the third level like a walking corpse. Lung Shichi used the power of the earth to help him hide his aura. A moment later, he stopped in a corner and said, "Strange, I found the weakness of the entrance to the next level. I could try to take you to the next level. I also found the location of the formation core, but that formation core gives me the feeling that it's alive." A formation core, but it's alive? Even Lung Shichi had never heard of this kind of thing. Do you want to go down? Oziu looked deeply at Lung Shichi and asked. Lung Shichi did not hesitate at all. Go, fine. Oziu then formed a series of seals. The air in front of him twisted and a narrow door appeared. Lung Shichi's body moved and entered. Oziu paused for a moment and followed. However, the fourth level of the beast's cesspool shocked them. There was actually a huge blood-colored altar here. Lung Shichi was very familiar with it. It was almost the same as the altar set up by the beast ghosts in the demon Miasma mountain range. In the middle of the altar, there were chains made of dense runes binding a giant beast that was thousands of feet in size. After Lung Shichi and Oziu arrived, the giant beast suddenly opened its scarlet eyes and roared with hatred. It's you. Chapter 843. However, the target of the beast's roar was not Lung Shichi or Oziu, but the beast ghost. At this moment, Lung Shichi remembered that at the last moment of the battle with Zhuozhou, a part of the beast ghost appeared. Now, it seemed to be the beast in front of him. He glanced at the beast ghost and saw that the beast ghost's expression showed a trace of astonishment. The beast ghost was already a wisp of soul. After being transformed into a ghost slave by Lung Shichi, it only retained its memories from when it was alive. In fact, it did not have a true sense of self-consciousness. In other words, it should not have any expression at all. At this moment, Lung Shichi clearly felt that the beast ghost's soul fluctuations had a huge fluctuation. Something must have happened between the beast ghost and the beast ghost, and it was not a happy kind. Lung Shichi raised his head and looked directly at the beast. Since the other party only used its mind just now, it meant that it did not want to alarm the guard of the beast hell. The beast was sealed by countless chains, so he could not feel a strong aura. However, to be able to be suppressed in the fourth layer of the beast hell by the Blood Beast sect and set up so many restrictions, this beast was definitely very strong. In particular, Lung Shichi also saw a few fresh demon beast corpses below the beast. From the aura, they were all rank 6 demon beast corpses. It turned out that the rank 6 demon beasts in the third layer of the beast hell were all sent to the fourth layer as food for the beast in front of him. Lung Shichi could not help but be curious. What exactly was this beast? You seem to hate him a lot? Lung Shichi transmitted. The beast's eyes were almost spitting fire. Zhuozhou, you stole my power source and still dare to come back. At the same time, Lung Shichi secretly calmed the beast ghost's emotions and asked, What is it? And what does it have to do with you? The beast ghost explained, Master, it is called the Beast Sovereign in the Blood Beast sect. It is both the guardian of the Blood Beast sect and the source of its power. The Blood Beast sect uses blood beasts as its foundation, but the higher the rank of the demon beast, the rarer it is. After many years of hunting, the number of high-level demonic beasts in the extreme northern wastelands was getting fewer and fewer. As for those rank 7 great demonic beasts, they all had their own forces. Even the Blood Beast sect didn't dare to go deep into the extreme northern wastelands to capture rank 7 great demonic beasts. When someone in the sect broke through to the Sky origin stage, but didn't have a rank 7 great demon beast by his side, he would be considered mediocre among those of the same level. In order to solve this problem, the upper echelons of the Blood Beast sect had been thinking of ways to solve it. In the end, they had all set their sights on the venerable beast. They had researched all kinds of methods to obtain power from the revered beasts, and from there, they could cultivate high-level demonic beasts. But after so many years, the sovereign beast's power was slowly weakening. If it continued like this, the sovereign beast would die sooner or later. The higher-ups of the sect had no choice but to completely seal the venerable beast as their last trump card. Later, when I became the sovereign, I created a secret technique. If I succeeded, I could allow a rank 6 monster beast to avoid the heavenly tribulation and take advantage of the opportunity to advance into a rank 7 monster. Although they did not have demon souls and could not be considered true great demons, their strength was not much different. They could completely solve the most troublesome problem for the Blood Beast sect. Unfortunately, studying this secret technique required a large number of high-level demonic beasts. The sect did not agree with this approach, so I could only secretly steal some demonic beasts. As the secret technique became more and more perfect, ordinary demonic beasts could no longer satisfy me. I could only think of using the power of the sovereign beast. At this point, Long Shichi finally understood that the ghost beast's actions were actually for the sake of the sect. Unfortunately, as the sovereign, he did not have enough power. He could not do whatever he wanted in the Blood Beast sect, so he could only secretly do something. He had to admit that being the sovereign was quite sullen. The ghost beast continued. In the end, I simply set up an altar and directly absorbed a part of the sovereign beast's power. With this, I broke through to the peak of the Sky origin stage in one fell swoop and gradually perfected my secret technique. However, everything had been exposed by then. The entire sect was furious, and I was later reduced to a traitor of the Blood Beast sect. Lung Shichi knew what happened after that. Zhuozhou was rescued by the people of the Northern Wei dynasty and then joined the Hall of Worship as the head of the sect. From what happened in the demonic Miasma mountain range, the ghost beast's secret technique was indeed successful. The demon sable and the heavenly winged tiger were the finished products. However, the ghost beast's actions also touched the bottom line of the Blood Beast sect. They believed that he stole the sovereign beast's power source for his own personal gain, causing the sovereign beast's power to be greatly damaged. That was the foundation of the Blood Beast sect. If the ghost beast's secret technique had been perfected at that time, it might have made sense. Unfortunately, it was not. He could only be surrounded and killed by his own people. It was clearly a series of actions made by the sovereign for the sake of the sect, but in the end, he became a traitor of the Blood Beast sect. It was really ironic. No wonder the demonic beast had such a big reaction when it saw the ghost beast again. At the same time, Lung Shichi also thought that since the ghost beast had mastered that kind of secret technique, then he still had Lu Ho and the other rank 6 demonic beasts under his command. It was not enough. He could use the secret technique to advance to rank 7. If he really succeeded, then he would have the combat power of 4 rank 7 demonic beasts. Of course, this was all for later. The most important thing now was to deal with this demonic beast. It was called the Sovereign Beast by the Blood Beast sect, so it should not be locked in the 4th layer of the beast cesspool, let alone be so miserable. After Zhuozhou left the Blood Beast sect, there were probably people in the Blood Beast sect who wanted to copy Zhuozhou and steal the Sovereign Beast's power. This gigantic blood-red altar was the proof of that. Lung Shichi said, "The Zhuozhou you hate is already dead. What you see now is only a wisp of his soul. You should not only hate Zhuozhou, right?" The Sovereign Beast's gaze turned to Lung Shichi. He suddenly felt an ancient demonic aura pressing down on him. If it was an ordinary Unity of Heaven Realm cultivator, he would probably be seriously injured. However, This pressure on Lung Shiqi was like a clay ox entering the sea. It could not hurt him at all. The sovereign beast lowered his head and said solemnly, "Who are you?" Strength was so important everywhere. It was because of Lung Shiqi's strength that he had the qualifications to talk to the sovereign beast. Otherwise, he would probably become the sovereign beast's food. Who I am is not important. The key is that I am the enemy of the Blood Beast sect. Lung Shiqi did not know why the sovereign beast was willing to be enslaved by the Blood Beast sect for thousands of years, but he knew very well that the sovereign beast must hate the Blood Beast sect to the core. If he could release this sovereign beast, it would definitely be a blow to the Blood Beast sect. The sovereign beast's body suddenly emitted a wave of energy, but he immediately withdrew it. He asked cautiously, "What do you want to do?" Lung Shiqi shrugged his shoulders. "Nothing. I just want to take revenge on the Blood Beast sect." "With just you?" The sovereign beast was somewhat disdainful. Even if Lung Shiqi was not weak, it was still far from enough to fight against the Blood Beast sect alone. Lung Shiqi was about to speak when Oziu suddenly sent a voice transmission. "It is the eye of the beast cesspool." Chapter 844. The Venerable Beast was the formation core of the Beast Hell. Lung Shiqi and Oziu both found it strange. How could a formation core be alive? It turned out that the Blood Beast sect had used the Venerable Beast as the formation core of the Beast Hell. No, Lung Shiqi didn't think it was that simple. The Venerable Beast and the Beast Hell were both extremely important to the Blood Beast sect. The Venerable Beast was sealed in the 4th level of the Beast Hell. Since they wanted to seal it, how could they use it as the formation core? Did I seal myself? This kind of thing seemed a bit inconceivable, but it happened right in front of Lung Shiqi's eyes. This made his thoughts gradually extinguish, because he had already thought that there was only one possibility for the Venerable Beast to voluntarily stay in the 4th level of the Beast Hell. That was benefits. In this world, only benefits were paramount. Tap, tap. At this moment, faint footsteps sounded from the 4th level of the Beast Hell. Could it be that he had inadvertently alarmed the Guardian here? Lung Shiqi looked around. There was nothing else in the 4th level of the Beast Hell other than the altar and the strange beasts. The strange thing was that he didn't see any spiritual aura. Even if the supercilious eye was getting more and more useful, it wasn't to the extent that he couldn't even see a shadow. Then, the Venerable Beast opened its bloody mouth, as if it was mocking him. All of a sudden, a hole opened up in front of his chest. Tendrils that looked like meridians spread out, and a figure slowly walked out from within. This person was actually inside the Venerable Beast's body. No wonder Lung Shiqi couldn't sense the other party's spiritual aura. An evil youth in a blood-red robe walked out. Seeing this person, Lung Shiqi's eyes flashed. He had seen this person before. When he was still in the spiritual pulse realm, he had met the disciples of the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast camp in the demonic Miasma mountain range. The person in front of him was a genius disciple of the Blood Beast sect who had also cultivated the demonic beast technique, Zhuoduanya. At that time, he was still fighting with the people of the Imperial Beast camp for the Vermilion Crag Beast. Later, Lung Shiqi benefited from it. What surprised Lung Shiqi was that he remembered that Zhuoduanya had just broken through to the Spirit Pulse stage not long ago. However, Zhuoduanya's cultivation was actually at the Heaven Origin stage. Lung Shiqi's first thought was that it was impossible. It only took Lung Shiqi a few years to reach the Sky Origin stage from the Spiritual Pulse stage. Even Lung Shiqi couldn't do that. How did Zhuoduanya do it? Or did Zhuoduanya have an even stronger fortuitous encounter? However, cultivation did not represent everything. Even if Zhuoduanya was at the Heavenly Origin stage, Lung Shiqi had nothing to be afraid of. Many divine origin stage cultivators had died in his hands. If he had to, he did not mind completing the quest to upgrade the Mansion of the Dead. The next upgrade of the underworld required 10 divine origin souls. He had already collected the souls of the startling Dragon Sword King, the divine firmament supremacy, and the rain transformation heavenly master in Zhu Nation and Beilu Nation. It would be nice to have one more. Zhuo Duanya did not know that Leng Shiqi wanted to kill him. He put his hands behind his back and sneered. You are the one who wants to take revenge on the Blood Beast sect. When the beast ghost behind Leng Shiqi saw Zhuo Duanya, its soul trembled slightly. It actually took the initiative to say 2 words. Duanya, the beast ghost did not have a physical body. Normal people could not even see it. However, a heavenly origin stage cultivator could see it clearly. Zhuo Duanya's expression instantly froze. He said in shock, Gee, grandfather? Leng Shiqi could not help but turn his head. The beast ghost and Zhuo Duanya were actually grandfather and grandson. The beast ghost was Zhuo Zhou. Both of them had the surname Zhuo. However, there were many people with the same surname. Leng Shiqi had never thought in this direction. He did not expect to see a grandfather and grandson reunite in the 4th level of the beast cesspool. Zhuo Duanya immediately saw that something was wrong with the beast ghost. He immediately rushed in front of the beast ghost. He was very agitated. Meanwhile, Leng Shiqi realized that there was a blood vessel-like thread behind Zhuo Duanya. The other end was connected to the beast venerable's body. What was the relationship between this man and beast? Ever since he entered the beast cesspool, he encountered one question after another. He still did not know the true relationship between the beast ghost and Zhuo Duanya. He secretly let the beast ghost test it out. Grandfather, how did you become like this? Zhuo Duanya reached out his hand, but it went through the beast ghost's body. He could not help but ask anxiously. The beast ghost slowly said, I was ambushed by an expert in the Thunderfire dynasty and almost died. The Emperor of Feng gave me a part of my soul. That is why I am barely alive now. Duanya, what happened to your cultivation? The beast ghost finally asked a question. Zhuo Duanya's expression turned serious. He turned to look at the beast venerable, as if he was trying to get the beast venerable's instructions. Seeing that the beast venerable did not have any reaction, Zhuo Duanya explained, Grandfather, after you betrayed, left the sect, Situ Huanshu began to clean up the Zhuo clan's disciples. Father also escaped because of this. I don't know if he's alive or dead. Fortunately, I was still young at that time, and my talent was very high. That was why I was able to stay. Until a few years ago, the great elder Xia Pingyu suddenly found me and accepted me as his disciple. At first, I was very grateful to him, but I didn't expect that he had always been coveting the secret method that you had researched. I didn't know the secret method, and I only had a few words left behind by grandfather. I had no choice but to continue researching. Xie Pingyu secretly provided the materials of demonic beasts. 2 years ago, the beast venerable was alarmed by an inexplicable power. Xie Pingyu took this opportunity to persuade the sect master to build the 4th layer of the beast prison and seal the beast venerable here. Xie Pingyu also placed me here to use the beast venerable's power to research the secret method. Little did he know. At this point, the beast venerable continued. Little did he know that I found this brat pleasing to the eye, so I simply gave him a part of my power to help him break through to the sky origin realm. Furthermore, I willingly became his blood beast. From then on, his position in the blood beast sect was transcendent. He became the blood beast sect's strongest trump card and was responsible for guarding the beast prison. After listening to Zhuo Duanya's experience, Leng Shiqi sneered in his heart. The beast venerable became Zhuo Duanya's blood beast? Leng Shiqi absolutely did not believe it. It was more likely that Zhuo Duanya became the beast venerable's puppet. In the past, the beast venerable should have been sealed and was in a deep sleep most of the time. But now it looked like it was still sealed, but it secretly controlled Zhuo Duanya, the guardian of the beast prison. Not only could it wake up at any time, but it also had the opportunity to replenish its own power. The corpses of those 6th-rank demonic beasts explained everything. Leng Shiqi was not aware of Xie Pingyu's conspiracy, nor was he aware of the beast venerable's true purpose. These were not so important. When the beast venerable discovered the beast ghosts, why did it specially release Zhuo Duanya? At this moment, Lung Shiqi and the beast Venerable looked at each other. They both saw the same meaning in each other's eyes. A deal. I want to destroy the beast prison and cause chaos in the Blood Beast sect. This way, I can help you cover up the dead 6th rank demonic beasts. Beast Venerable, state your conditions. Lung Shiqi quietly transmitted his voice. The Beast Venerable's voice immediately sounded in Lung Shiqi's mind. Brat, that depends on whether you have the qualifications to make a deal with me. Chapter 845. Zhuoduanya, who was still immersed in the reunion, suddenly had a cold expression. He turned his head with a murderous look. Lung Shiqi understood that the sovereign beast wanted Zhuoduanya to test his true strength. He stretched out a finger and hooked it at Zhuoduanya. His provocation was obvious. Zhuoduanya grinned. Red light flashed in his eyes. A bloody glow rose behind him and condensed into a strange Dharma idol. It was not a demon beast, but a double-faced giant. One side was fierce and ferocious, while the other side was like a god from the 9 heavens, looking down on everything. Zhuoduanya used the sovereign beast's power to break through to the divine origin stage in a short time. His heaven and earth Dharma idol was not the sovereign beast, but such a strange thing. His momentum was not small, but the moment he made a move, he revealed that he had just entered the divine origin stage. Zhuoduanya grabbed with his 5 fingers, and the Dharma idol emitted a bright light. In an instant, a scarlet bloody aura emerged, and an endless wave of blood rushed forward. Lung Shiqi was expressionless. He had seen Xiepingyu use this technique in the demonic Miasma mountain range. He stood upright, and a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Upon closer inspection, the figure was somewhat similar to Lung Shiqi. Immediately, he threw a punch, and the divine figure also threw a punch. Suddenly, a surge of domineering aura rushed to the 9 heavens, and the origin energy of heaven and earth was repelled. At this moment, the 4th level of the beast's cesspool was suppressed by the boundless domineering aura. Tyrant Fist's 3rd style, Tyrant's Barrier. The fist landed, and the wave of blood collapsed. Zhuoduanya was directly sent flying by the terrifying force of the fist. Bang! Zhuoduanya crashed into the array at the edge of the 4th level, causing the surrounding array patterns to shake. Finally, he fell heavily to the ground. He won with a single punch. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was obvious. However, no one cheered. The beast ghost itself did not have any emotional fluctuations. Ozu was already used to Lung Shiqi's freakish strength. The sovereign beast's eyes flashed. Lung Shiqi's strength was indeed beyond his expectations. As for Zhuoduanya, he suddenly stood up. His whole body surged with a bloody aura of a ferocious beast. Even his appearance was slowly changing. He looked like a half-demon bathed in blood. At the same time, his chi had increased tremendously. He was now approaching the middle stage of Sky Origin Stage. Lung Shiqi could tell at a glance that Zhuoduanya had used some kind of secret technique. He did not continue to pay attention to Zhuoduanya. Instead, he said to the sovereign beast, "Is there still a need to continue fighting?" The venerable beast cackled. "Interesting. You're only in the unity of heaven and men stage, but you're already in the late stage of the Sky Origin Stage. I've only seen 2 people like you in my entire life." After saying that, the crack in front of the venerable beast opened again, and dozens of tentacles directly pulled Zhuoduanya into it. There was no point in continuing this battle. It continued. "If you want to destroy the beast cesspool's formation, I can help you, but you must hand over Zhuozhou's secret technique." It was that secret technique again. In fact, Lung Shiqi didn't pay too much attention to this secret technique from the beginning. In his heart, the beast ghost's methods were evil, so he didn't need to use it. But now, it seemed that the current head elder of the Blood Beast sect, Xiepingyu, and the venerable beast were very interested in that secret technique. What exactly did the beast ghost discover? The beast cesspool's formation core was the venerable beast. Lung Shiqi didn't know how strong the venerable beast was, but he was sure that it was impossible to kill the venerable beast. A deal was the only way. Lung Shiqi let the beast ghost copy the secret technique into a jade slip and give it to the venerable beast. At the same time, he kept a copy for himself. Very good. The venerable beast clearly showed some joy. I won't go back on my words. The Blood Beast sect needs to go through some turbulence. However, the Blood Beast sect can be in chaos, but it can't be destroyed. You understand, Lung Shiqi? The last 3 words sounded like thunder in Lung Shiqi's ears. He had never told the venerable beast his name. How would the beast ghost know? The venerable beast was far more mysterious than he had imagined. Then, the venerable beast took out a bead the size of a human head from its mouth. This is part of the beast cesspool's formation core. After it is damaged, more than half of the beast cesspool's formation will be destroyed. Lung Shiqi took the bead. Before he left, he said tentatively, with the venerable beast's ability, a mere blood beast sect is not worth mentioning. What are you afraid of? In this short moment of contact with the venerable beast, he always had a feeling in his heart. The venerable beast had been in the blood beast sect for thousands of years. At first, he had always thought that the venerable beast was the nourishment of the blood beast sect. Now, he felt that the venerable beast was using the blood beast sect to hide something. However, the venerable beast was lying on the ground. The aura of its body was rapidly fading, as if it was about to fall asleep. Lung Shiqi left the 4th floor with Ozu and the beast ghost. When their figures disappeared, the venerable beast suddenly opened one of its eyes. Extremely complicated emotions flashed through its eyes. Then, it raised its hand and looked at the sky. Its gaze seemed to penetrate the beast cesspool, penetrate the 9 heavens, and reach the top of the world. A deep fear appeared in the venerable beast's eyes. Boy, you don't know what the most terrifying thing in this world is, but his aura feels familiar. Strange. Lung Shiqi came to the 2nd floor of the beast cesspool and directly crushed the bead given to him by the venerable beast. As expected, a large number of formations in the beast cesspool collapsed in an instant. His body swayed, and hundreds of phantoms suddenly appeared. At the same time, he performed countless spirit arts and undid all the bracelets on the monsters. After that, he was no longer needed here. These abused demonic beasts all knew what to do. Roar! Immediately after, waves of angry roars sounded in the Blood Beast sect. Soon, the alarm in the sect rang loudly, and figures rushed over in a hurry. A battle between humans and monsters in the Blood Beast sect instantly began. Lung Shiqi had already told 9 Leave to be prepared to intercept and kill Xiepingyu. There were no rank 6 monsters in the beast cesspool, so it was not a big threat to the Blood Beast sect. He was sure that the Blood Beast sect would only need a moment to suppress those monsters. There was no need to ask for help from the powerhouses in the Wei capital. However, the destruction of the beast cesspool still had to be reported. Xiepingyu would naturally know about it. This great elder secretly had designs on the venerable beast, and the venerable beast was in the 4th floor of the beast cesspool. Therefore, Xiepingyu would definitely find a way to rush back if something happened to the beast cesspool. In a large courtyard in the Wei capital, several higher-ups of the Blood Beast sect sat together. Sect Master Situ Huanshu said in a deep voice, "In the past 2 years, many of our elite disciples have been killed by that demoness. Even an elder has fallen. This has made fewer and fewer geniuses willing to come to our sect. Don't hide your strength in this all-spirit gathering. The Blood Beast sect must take the first place." They all nodded, but in the next moment, Situ Huanshu's expression suddenly changed. He said in surprise, "The beast cesspool has been destroyed. All the monsters are causing trouble in the sect." The others were also shocked. The beast cesspool was too important to the Blood Beast sect. There were countless formations set up in it over the years. How could it be destroyed so easily? And who was the one who destroyed it? What were the casualties in the sect now? These were the things that everyone was most worried about. Among them, Xiepingyu's expression was the worst. Not long ago, he was the one who proposed to use the venerable beast as the formation core of the beast cesspool. He had his own unknown motives. But now the beast cesspool had been destroyed. Not to mention whether he would be punished by Situ Huanshu. What he was most afraid of now was whether the venerable beast had met with an accident. The beast cesspool and the beast cesspool were the foundation of the blood beast sect. If something happened to them, not only would he become a sinner of the blood beast sect, but he would also never be able to get what he wanted. He stood up and said solemnly, "Sect Master, something is wrong. Let me go back and investigate." Chapter 846. Situ Huanshu pondered for a moment and said, "We can't lose the beast cesspool and sovereign beast. Head Elder and Elder Tion go back together and stabilize the sect as soon as possible. Then find out who did it. Even a formation master can't destroy the beast cesspool's formation. There must be a mole in the sect." He wasn't worried about the blood beast sect's losses. He already knew that there were no rank 6 beasts among the rampaging beasts in the beast cesspool. The sect's strength was more than enough to deal with these beasts. It was precisely the lack of rank 6 beasts that made Situ Huanshu suspicious. The third level of the beast cesspool clearly imprisoned rank 6 beasts. If the formation was destroyed, how could they be indifferent? What worried him even more was that there were only a few people in the blood beast sect who had the ability to break the beast cesspool's formation. And they were all higher-ups. This meant that there was a mole among the higher-ups. A middle-aged man with a big belly next to Xie Pingyu stood up. He was one of the elders of the blood beast sect, Tian Qixing, and he had a cultivation at the middle stage of the sky origin realm. "Senior brother sect master, don't worry." Xie Pingyu didn't say much. He turned around and rushed back to the blood beast sect with Tian Qixing. After the two of them left, Situ Huanshu secretly took out a jade token and suddenly crushed it. 1,000 miles away, Xie Pingyu and Tian Qixing turned into 2 blood-colored streams of light and streaked across the sky. Suddenly, the origin energy of heaven and earth surged wildly, and a misty power spread out. The two of them felt as if there was a great force on their bodies. Caught off guard, they fell from the sky. Bang! Bang! The two of them fell to the ground. They had spiritual power protecting their bodies, so naturally, they weren't injured at all. However, their faces were full of seriousness and vigilance, especially the pressure that was like Mount Tai. They had to divide a part of their strength to resist it. The person who could do this was at least a powerhouse at the late stage of the sky origin realm. This kind of powerhouse was very rare in the blood beast sect. Who could be targeting them? A blood river flowed around Xie Pingyu's body, and his killing intent soared to the sky. His voice spread all around. "You're a high-ranking person. Isn't it humiliating to hide like this?" No one answered him. There was only a violent explosion of sword intent. Under this sword, divine light suddenly appeared, and the netherworld rose in all directions. Ghosts and gods were shocked. Ghost sword. The target of this sword was not Xie Pingyu, but Tian Qixing, who was next to him. When the powerful sword intent condensed together, the power was so great that it shocked Tian Qixing. He subconsciously wanted to dodge, but the ghost god sword was no longer a simple sword. The surrounding dozens of miles had already become a sword domain, so there was no way for him to dodge. Tian Qixing instantly formed a seal, and a huge blood-red array lit up beneath his feet. A huge blood beast appeared. This blood beast had a slender body that resembled a snake and a fish. There were even 2 long dragon whiskers at the corners of its mouth. Clearly, this was the blood fiend that Tian Qixing had refined from several types of demonic beasts. "Fish python, break my sword." The fish python opened its mouth wide, expanding infinitely. In the blink of an eye, it was as if it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth, swallowing even the essence energy of heaven and earth. The ghost god sword immediately dimmed. Seeing this, Tian Qixing was secretly delighted. The greatest ability of his blood beast fish python was that it could swallow a part of the original energy of heaven and earth. The most powerful ability of the Tianyuan stage was to use the original energy of heaven and earth. Once the original energy of heaven and earth was limited, the power of the spiritual skill would be greatly reduced. At the same time, Siepingyu was also ready to attack. However, a demonic voice sounded. Siepingyu, do you still remember me? Immediately, countless purple demonic powers burst out of the heavenly cycle. As the demonic powers flowed, they formed a purple crystal space about 10 miles wide that enveloped Siepingyu. Siepingyu immediately recognized who it was. He shouted in horror, "Soul-leaving scorpion, you're not dead again?" The reason why he said again was because Nine Leaf had indeed strangely resurrected twice in his hands. The first time was in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Nine Leaf had self-destructed and her soul had been taken away by Lung Shichi. The second time was a year ago when the Blood Beast sect, the Imperial Beast Abode, and the Northern Wei Empire had joined forces to kill Nine Leaf. In the end, Nine Leaf had escaped into the underworld with serious injuries. Now that Nine Leaf had appeared again, Siepingyu was both surprised and troubled. Nine Leaf had brought a lot of trouble to the Blood Beast sect, and many of their disciples had died. However, Nine Leaf's whereabouts were unpredictable, and they couldn't kill her. Anyone would have a headache when facing such an enemy. What's more, Siepingyu was in a hurry to return to the Blood Beast sect and was blocked by Nine Leaf. He wanted to kill Nine Leaf 10 times over. However, he also knew that it was impossible to leave easily today. The blood river behind Siepingyu roared, and a strange beast the size of a small mountain with fleshy wings on its back walked out of the blood river. The strange beast clenched its fists, and a visible wave spread out. This strange beast's strength was comparable to the middle stage of the Sky Origin realm. The blood beasts that the Blood Beast sect created using various secret techniques were actually very flawed. They definitely couldn't compare to a true Sky Origin realm expert. However, Siepingyu's strange beast had the feeling of breaking through with force, and it was obviously much stronger than when it was in the demonic Miasma mountain range. I've seen enough of your Qi Xing beast. It's time to let you see my true body. After Nine Leaf finished speaking, boundless demonic powers and ghost aura surged around her. Her body grew a little taller, and under the encirclement of her power, a dark purple demonic armor was formed. 8 sharp spikes protruded from its back, resembling a pair of alien wings. Nine Leaf looked down from above, but there was still some divine intent in her demonic eyes. After Nine Leaf received Ghost Emperor Yao Ye's inheritance, her cultivation had finally recovered to the 7th rank. Her true body had changed from a pure demon to a half-demon, half-god, a god from the underworld. At this moment, whether it was the demonic bloodline or the Ghost Emperor aura in Nine Leaf's body, they made the Qi Xing beast feel a suppression on its soul. It even had the urge to kneel on the ground. Nine Leaf waved her hand, and a terrifying illusion of hundreds of feet appeared behind her. It was an endless hell. There was a sea of blood rising, a river flowing backward, and countless evil spirits struggling and wailing. It was clearly broad daylight, but it made Siepingyu and Tian Qixing feel like they had fallen into hell. Siepingyu's heart sank. After a year, Nine Leaf's strength had improved at a godly speed, far surpassing the last time they fought. Nine Leaf's hands formed claws, and in an instant, thousands of ghosts wailed. The heaven and earth became incomparably dark, and a powerful and cold force seemed to be able to tear the void apart. The Qi Xing beast suddenly screamed. Siepingyu turned his head and saw that countless claw marks had appeared on the Qi Xing beast's body. What astonishing speed! What powerful destructive power! No one knew better than him how powerful the Qi Xing beast was, but now, the Qi Xing beast didn't seem to be a match for Nine Leaf. Siepingyu held a hooked spear, and a layer of strange ripples rippled out. In the next moment, blood-colored spear shadows covered the sky, and everything nearby was sealed. However, those spear shadows were also rapidly dissipating, and they could only barely hold on. One man and one beast. Yet they were firmly suppressed by Nine Leaf's strength alone. Chapter 847. Lung Shiqi originally thought that 9-leaf strength would be comparable to a Sky Origin late-stage cultivator after recovering to rank 7. Now that he was fighting with Xie Pingyu, he was able to suppress a Sky Origin late-stage cultivator and a blood fiend. This strength was beyond Lung Shiqi's expectations. He collected his thoughts and decided to deal with his opponent first. Tian Qixing barely blocked the demon god's sword. Lung Shiqi appeared with a huge mysterious whirlpool slowly rotating above his head. Then, the whirlpool turned into a huge bloody eye. There was a vertical pupil in the bloody eye, which seemed to reflect countless white bones. And those white bones were actually all kinds of demons. When the huge eye appeared, whether it was Tian Qixing's fish python or Xie Pingyu's Qixing beast, they all suddenly cried out in fear. Even the fish python curled up and shivered. Eye of the Six Paths, Animal Path. The Eye of the Six Paths was comprehended by Lung Shiqi not long ago when he comprehended the 6 paths of reincarnation in the underworld. Each path had a different power. This animal path could make all the demons in the world submit to the law. Lung Shiqi formed a seal, and the Eye of the Animal Path stood behind him. Then his eyes turned into the Eye of the Animal Path. With just one look, the fish python suddenly seemed to be tortured. Its whole body kept twisting, and a lot of terrible wounds appeared on its body. The fish python had the strength of a 7th-rank demon, but it was so vulnerable in front of Lung Shiqi. Tian Qixing didn't know what was going on. He had never seen such a strange method since he started cultivating. But he knew that if this continued, the fish python that he had spent so much effort to cultivate would die. He was about to make a move, but suddenly he was shocked. He felt like he was being stared at by the god of death. Lung Shiqi had 4 arms on his back and instantly formed seals. In an instant, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. Endless astral wind suddenly rose and the ground was frozen. What was even more strange was that the thunder, astral wind, and ice crystals rapidly condensed in the blink of an eye, leaving only 3 seals that were half the height of a person. But just these 3 seals were enough to make Tian Qixing tremble in fear. This was because the 3 seals exuded a power that made him both envious and fearful. The power of the laws of heaven and earth. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that his opponent would be a Tongxian realm expert. The 3 voices drew upon the power of the laws of ice, wind, and thunder, and repelled all other energies, creating a small, narrow world with a radius of over 10,000 feet. Then, endless divine lightning struck down. Gales that could destroy the void swept across the world. Ice crystals that could freeze the past and the present were frozen. Violent energy surged in this small world, as if it was the end of the world. This was the 3-talent seal that Lung Shiqi had continuously derived from the 3 talents imperial art to the extreme. Tian Qixing was horrified. In the face of this doomsday-like power, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. Any spiritual skill or secret method was powerless in the face of this power. Lung Shiqi reached out and clenched his fist, and the whole small world collapsed. Tian Qixing, who was swallowed up, died with his eyes wide open. He asked, "Who are you?" "Underworld, Emperor of Fengdu," Lung Shiqi said indifferently, and then took away Tian Qixing's soul. An elder of the Blood Beast sect in the middle stage of the Heavenly Origin realm could be killed with a flip of his hand. On the other side, Xie Pingyu was also in despair. When he fought with 9-leaf just now, although he was at a disadvantage at the beginning, he still had many trump cards. He might not be able to turn defeat into victory, but at least he was confident that he could escape unscathed. However, after Lung Shiqi's Eye of the 6 Paths appeared, Xie Pingyu's Qixing beast was also greatly affected. It didn't even resist and allowed 9-leaf to attack. At this time, it was already covered in wounds. At this time, Xie Pingyu realized that Lung Shiqi, this mysterious person, was their Blood Beast sect's nemesis. He had already begun to think of retreating. As long as he could break through 9-leaf's purple crystal space, he could immediately contact sect master Situ Huanshu. When the experts of the Blood Beast sect arrived, everything would be easy to discuss. However, when Lung Shiqi used the 3-talent seal to instantly kill Tian Qixing, Xie Pingyu was a little stunned. That mysterious person was actually a mystic comprehending realm expert. A mystic comprehending realm expert was personally dealing with them. Xie Pingyu couldn't figure out when a mystic comprehending realm expert appeared in the Northern Wei Empire. Why would he help a monster like Nine Leave deal with the Blood Beast sect? It was useless to think about this now. With a mystic comprehending realm expert here, Xie Pingyu knew that he was no match for him. He hurriedly said, "Senior, please don't attack. There is no hatred that cannot be resolved in this world. As long as Senior is magnanimous, I am willing to pay any price." Hearing this, Lung Shiqi laughed inwardly. Back then, when Xie Pingyu displayed his might in the Demon Miasma mountain range, Lung Shiqi was only a low-level spirit cultivator in the spirit transformation realm. Now, he had become Xie Pingyu's senior. He wouldn't talk nonsense with Xie Pingyu. The other party was the Great Elder of Top Sect, who knew how many trump cards he had. Moreover, this place was thousands of miles away from Northern Wei, but it wasn't too far for the Sky Origin realm. If Xie Pingyu spread the news, it would be troublesome. Therefore, he had to end the battle as soon as possible. Nine Leave, help me restrain him. Nine Leave smiled eerily. A faint purple scorpion image appeared behind her. A sharp voice pierced through Xie Pingyu's sea of consciousness and into the depths of his soul. That voice was like a hook that could directly hook out his soul. Xie Pingyu's vision darkened and felt like he was going to faint. He suddenly bit his tongue and burned all the essence blood in his body. However, he was shocked to find that a portion of his essence blood was leaving his body uncontrollably. He looked up and saw a blood mark floating in the sky. It was this thing that was guiding his essence blood. Blood guide heaven's might seal. It was specially used to deal with burning essence blood. At this moment, Xie Pingyu's soul was out of control. His essence blood was also out of control. He was also being suppressed by the gravity space, and Nine Leaves amethyst space was cutting off his spiritual sense. As for the Qixing beast, it didn't dare to move under the deterrence of the Eye of the Six Paths. It felt like it couldn't cry out for help. It clearly had the cultivation of the Sky Origin late stage, but it couldn't even use 20 to 30% of its power. What awaited Xie Pingyu was only death, and it was an extremely sullen death. No, Xie Pingyu thought of his great ambitions. He hadn't reached his goal yet. He couldn't die like this. Meanwhile, 3 Dharma images of heaven and earth appeared beside Lung Shiqi. One of them was the Buddha of Slaughter holding a Buddhist monk's blade. The other was the Emperor of Fengdu from the 9 underworlds, who ruled over life and death. The Dharma image in the middle was like a god from the heavenly palace. It looked down on all living things. The 3 Dharma images swung their blades at the same time. Divine light appeared to slay gods and vanquish the void. Demonic flames filled the sky and cut through the void. Buddhist light bloomed and purified the world. The 3 flowers of God, demon, and Buddha were short-lived. Xie Pingyu turned into ashes amidst his endless terror. Chapter 848. You killed him before I even had the chance to use my full strength. Nine Leave was a little unhappy. Xie Pingyu was one of the 2 people she hated the most. It was too easy for him to die, just like that. Lung Shiqi was too lazy to answer. A Sky Origin late-stage cultivator couldn't be underestimated. If Xie Pingyu hadn't been suppressed everywhere, he wouldn't have been killed so easily. Nine Leave didn't want to take advantage. He changed the subject and said, Xie Pingyu is dead. What are you going to do next? Xie Pingyu is dead, but the Blood Beast sect is still here. Nine Leaves' meaning was obvious. She was still going to deal with the Blood Beast sect. Lung Shiqi immediately advised, I advise you not to target the Blood Beast sect anymore. The main culprit is already dead, and the Blood Beast sect has paid with the lives of a large number of disciples and 2 elders. This is enough to eliminate the hatred in your heart. Huh? Nine Li was puzzled. Was this something Lung Shiqi would say? If it was in the past, Lung Shiqi would definitely try to destroy the Blood Beast sect. Even if he couldn't destroy it, he would drive the tiger to devour the wolf. In short, the Blood Beast sect wouldn't have an easy time. But Lung Shiqi said this at this time. Even Nine Li felt that the Lung Shiqi in front of her had been replaced. Of course, Lung Shiqi was still him. The reason why he said this was because he was very afraid of the Beast Sovereign, the mysterious and powerful Beast Sovereign. In particular, the Beast Sovereign had specifically reminded Lung Shiqi that the Blood Beast sect could be in chaos, but couldn't be destroyed. Lung Shiqi was not afraid, but steady. He explained, I found an extraordinary existence in the Blood Beast sect before. With your strength in mind, it's better not to provoke it. Nine Li's expression also became a little heavy. She knew Lung Shiqi very well. To be able to be evaluated by him as an existence that couldn't be provoked, it must be abnormally powerful. Well, let's put aside the grievances of the Blood Beast sect for the time being. Then I will target the Imperial Beast sect. Nine Li also followed her heart. To Nine Li's surprise, Lung Shiqi shook his head again and said, No, we can't touch the Imperial Beast camp either. One had to know that the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had been mortal enemies for countless years. Now that the Blood Beast sect had lost 3 Sky Origin Stage experts and a large number of disciples, it could be said that it was a great loss. What do you think the Imperial Beast camp will do next? Devour the Blood Beast sect? Nine Li immediately understood what Lung Shiqi meant. Since the Blood Beast sect's strength had been greatly damaged, the Imperial Beast Abode would naturally suppress the Blood Beast sect in all aspects. Even without Nine Li's intervention, the Blood Beast sect would only become more and more miserable. If Nine Li went to cause trouble for the Imperial Beast Abode at this time, with such a powerful enemy, the Imperial Beast Abode would have no time to care about the Blood Beast sect. Therefore, Nine Li didn't have to do anything. He just had to sit and watch the dogs bite each other. Lung Shiqi continued. Originally, the 2 top sects were on par with each other in terms of power. They fought with each other, but no one could do anything to the other. Now, the Blood Beast sect is obviously at a great disadvantage. However, the Blood Beast sect still has Situ Huanshu, the sect master, and he can't be suppressed by the Imperial Beast Abode. Therefore, I predict that there will be a war between the 2 sects in the near future. When this war starts, you can secretly intervene. That will be the greatest revenge against them. After listening to this, Nine Li confirmed that Lung Shiqi had not been replaced. Okay, it seems that I have nowhere to go. Nine Li's revenge was half completed. The 1,000-legged Beast King of the Imperial Beast Abode, Nan Min Yun, could not be touched for the time being. It seemed that she really had nothing to do. As for participating in the All-Spirit Gathering, it was impossible. If she didn't make a move, the Goo King could help her cover up her aura. Once she made a move, everything would be exposed. Nine Li rolled his eyes and said, Forget it. Then I'll go to the far northern wastelands. After all, that's the habitat of the Demon Clan. With my strength, I might even be able to become a Demon King. As he said that, he became excited. Lung Shiqi clapped his hands and praised. Going to the far northern wastelands was good. Let's go and kill those demon beasts. You helped me kill Siepingyu. I don't know how to repay such a big favor. Before leaving, Nine Li said faintly. In the past, she often lent Lung Shiqi a part of her strength. Now that their strength had even reversed, she didn't know how to repay the favor. We've been together for a long time. It's not easy for us to get to where we are today. I can still help you with this. Lung Shiqi said generously. Immediately, he changed the topic. If you must help me, that's fine. As he said that, he handed a jade slip to Nine Li. This is the location of the lightning-type tribulation divine thunder. It's in the far northern wastelands, but the specific location is not very clear. I don't know if it has been taken away by others. Since you're going to the far northern wastelands, why don't you help me find it on the way? I knew you wouldn't lose out. It's just a small matter. Leave it to me. Nine Li put away the jade slip and was about to leave. Suddenly, a roar filled with boundless anger sounded. "How dare you touch my blood beast sex people? You're courting death." In the distance, dots of green light converged into a figure. The voice came from this person. "It's Situ Huanshu." Nine Li was shocked at first. She had been using the purple crystal space to block Xie Pingyu, not giving the other party a chance to send a message. How could Situ Huanshu appear here? However, when Nine Leaf took a look, she immediately chuckled. "So it's just an illusion. With this little strength, you dare to bark in front of this old lady? Evildoer, it's actually you." Situ Huanshu immediately recognized Nine Leaf, and he was naturally shocked. Previously, he had sent Xie Pingyu and Tian Qixing back to the sect to suppress the riot in the beast cesspool. He had already determined that there was a mole in the main sect, so these two were naturally on his list of suspects. Therefore, he deliberately kept an eye out and released an illusion to quietly follow behind them to see if there was a mole in these two people. Unfortunately, his illusion was not fast enough, so he could only follow from a distance. By accident, he happened to see the scene of Xie Pingyu being killed. He knew that the person who could kill Xie Pingyu and Tian Qixing must be very powerful. He could not deal with him at all with his illusory body. His biggest goal was still to know who the murderer was. When he saw that it was Nine Leaf, his hatred could not help but soar. This demoness had been surrounded and killed by them several times and had not died. Now, she had killed two elders of the Blood Beast sect. This enmity was absolutely irreconcilable. At the same time, Situ Huanshu also noticed Lung Shiqi. At this time, Lung Shiqi was dressed in the attire of the Emperor of Fengdu, and his aura was as unfathomable as the abyss. Situ Huanshu instantly saw that Lung Shiqi was a bigger threat than Nine Leaf. Who was this mysterious person? Before he could say anything, Nine Leaf snapped his fingers, and his illusory body was torn apart and scattered. I didn't expect Situ Huanshu to have a trick up his sleeve. Fortunately, he acted fast enough. His original body should be on the way. "I'll leave first." Nine Leaf left after saying that. Lung Shiqi's palms stroked the void, and the strange power of the earth wiped out all traces of the battle. Even if Situ Huanshu came here, he would not be able to find any clues. Chapter 849. After doing this, Lung Shiqi instantly teleported back to Wei Capital and returned to his room. Since the dust had settled, there was nothing for him to worry about. In order to complete the act, he specially created a fake Nine Leaf to show his face before disappearing into a corner. It had only been a day or two since he dealt with the Blood Beast sect. The Myriad Spirit meet was about to begin, so he should make preparations. Originally, Lung Shiqi had planned to use the sword, the blade, and the Four Spirits formation diagram as his main combat strength. He believed that with his physical strength and spirit power, he would be able to get a good ranking in the Sky Origin stage. He didn't need to be first. He just needed to be qualified to enter the Ashen Aeon realm. The top 5 in the Heavenly Yuan realm could enter. However, Situ Huanshu had seen his short-lived success, so he naturally couldn't use it again. This way, his public strength would be weaker. He had to think of other methods. After resting for a while, Lung Shiqi called Banning over. "Your Highness, please give me your orders." Banning bowed and chuckled. "Give me the information on all the Heavenly Yuan realm battles in the Myriad Spirit meet." Lung Shiqi wouldn't be careless. He had to understand his future opponents first. Banning chuckled. "I've already prepared it for your Highness. Please take a look." He presented an exquisite scroll to Lung Shiqi. Lung Shiqi nodded his head in satisfaction and began to read it. There were far more Heavenly Yuan realm experts participating in the Myriad Spirit meet than the world's first Spirit Cultivator meet. After all, the Thunderblaze dynasty's relationship with the Spirit Cultivator sex was too strained. Almost no one dared to come. Only the Supreme Saberhall's Hall Master, Fu Yingxi, came. In the end, he brought back the title of #1 in the world and was made a fool of by the Thunderblaze dynasty. It was said that Fu Yingxi didn't have an easy time after that. Heavenly Yuan realm experts came to challenge him every few days. If he accepted the challenge, the challengers would only become stronger and stronger. He would lose sooner or later. If he didn't accept the challenge, he would only be scolded as a coward. Yushu was in the Supreme Saber Hall. It was said that Fu Yingxi was in a sorry state all day, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. In the end, Fu Yingxi couldn't take it anymore. He could only take the initiative to give up the title of #1 in the world. Whoever wanted to fight for it could do so. 33 Sky Origin Stage cultivators had signed up for the All Spirits Gathering. More than half of them were experts from the Northern Wei Empire. For example, the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had 7 experts in total. There was also the Heavenly Dipper sect, one of the 5-level sects, and the Fallen Cherry Spirit region, one of the 4 sacred spirit regions. The remaining people were from the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Starfall dynasty. The one from the Thunderfire dynasty was Xian Haoying. Lung Shiqi had sensed her spiritual energy before, and she was definitely at the peak of the Heaven Origin stage. The strongest person from the Starfall dynasty was the Duke of Qi. Whether it was strength or prestige, he was extremely high in the Starfall dynasty. It was said that he had already touched the edge of the mystic comprehending realm. Banding also marked out the strongest people among these people. The Northern Wei Empire's people were Blood Beast Sect Master Situ Huanxiu, Imperial Beast Sect Master 10 Directions Beast King Luo Lu, Heavenly Dipper Sect Master Kong Jianba, and Falling Cherry Spirit Domains Fairy Luo Ying. These people were the sect masters of the top sects in the Northern Wei Empire. If they were not at the late stage of the Heaven Origin stage, then they were at the peak of the Heaven Origin stage. Any one of them was an existence that could shake the world. The 4 of them were the most popular candidates to become the champion of the Myriad Spirit Gathering, especially Fairy Luo Ying. Many people believed that she would become the champion. However, the Thunderblaze Dynasty's Imperial Consecration Halls, Xian Haoying, and the Starfall Dynasty's Duke of Qi were not to be underestimated. They represented their respective empires to fight for face. It could be seen that the battle between the Heaven Origin stage was extremely intense. Other than the 33 Heaven Origin stage experts, there were 2 other special people. They participated in the battle between the Heaven Origin stage experts with their unity of Heaven Origin stage cultivation. Lung Shiqi was one of them. When he saw the name of the other person, he was also surprised. 10,000 Laws Wondrous Sect, Meng Tian. Lung Shiqi still had a fresh memory of this person. Meng Tian had once used only a glance to make him sink into dozens of illusions. One had to know that Lung Shiqi's mental strength was not weak. Furthermore, he had cultivated high-level illusions. Even so, he was still in such a sorry state. It could be seen that Meng Tiantian's attainments in illusions were shocking. In Lung Shiqi's heart, other than the 6 popular experts, Meng Tian was the biggest threat to him. He continued to read carefully. The report also briefly described the spiritual techniques that everyone was proficient in. Of course, it was only superficial. Any Heaven Origin stage expert had many methods, and this could only be used as a reference. Time passed in a flash, and the Myriad Spirit Gathering was finally about to begin. The spirit cultivators that came from the Thunderblaze dynasty were divided into 2 types. The various sects were one type, and there were not many of them. Most of them were from sects that were closer to the Northern Wei Empire. The other type was Lung Shiqi and the other spirit cultivators that belonged to the Thunderblaze dynasty. Everyone was led by Xian Haoying, who was the strongest force that came from the Thunderblaze dynasty. Lung Shiqi was second. His cultivation was not high, but his strength was publicly recognized as comparable to the Heaven Origin stage. Furthermore, his status as the king of the West Desolation was incomparable. Even Xian Haoying was very polite to him. Everyone gathered together. Xian Haoying was a man who looked somewhat refined. His noble aura made people look sideways. He smiled and said, "I've long heard that the king of the West Desolation is young and promising. Today, I've seen that you live up to your reputation." He knew that Lung Shiqi had signed up for the Heaven Origin Stage competition. The key was that everyone who knew about this thought that it was normal. Even the people of the Northern Wei Empire could not find anything wrong with Lung Shiqi's battle results. They could only say that the Thunderblaze dynasty had indeed produced a peerless genius. Lord Xian is too kind, Lung Shiqi said courteously. With Lord Xian here, I think that the position of the champion will be easily obtained. Haha, there are many experts here this time. I don't dare to boast, but I still have some confidence. Xian Haoying was also quite confident. Perhaps in his eyes, only the Starfall dynasty's Duke Qi and Fairy Luo Ying had the qualifications to be his true opponents. He then looked at Delta Orgi, Zhuge Puha, and the rest. The dynasty has you all as pillars. What is there to worry about? Let's go to the martial field first. The martial field was the place where the Thousand Spirit Gathering was held. However, the location was not within the Wei capital, but 100 miles north. There were tens of thousands of spirit cultivators participating in the competition, and there was no lack of experts. If they all fought in the Wei capital, even with the protection of the array, it was hard to avoid some accidents. Therefore, the Northern Wei Empire specially built a place for the competition. Lung Shiqi and the rest walked out of the inn and headed towards the martial field. After they left, 3 people in black cloaks came out from the corner. Is it him? One of them asked. That's right. We waited bitterly for him in the Zhuge family for nearly 2 years, but he came directly here. Let's go. Everything is about to begin. Chapter 850. Although the martial field was called a martial field, it was actually very large. The entire martial field was built in a circular shape with more than 10 levels, making it look like a giant arena. More than 100,000 people were squeezed into the martial field like countless ants. The intense heat waves made everyone excited. They were about to witness many experts from all over the continent fighting. It must be known that those low-level spirit cultivators would only see a few high-level spirit cultivators in their entire lives. Just like when Lung Shiqi carried out his first mission in the Blood Clothing Pavilion, even if he encountered Bo Yuanho's tomb, it would only attract low-level spirit cultivators. Having 2 or 3 spirit pulse realm cultivators was enough to be called experts. Only when one's cultivation and strength increased would they have the chance to come into contact with spirit cultivators of the same level or even stronger people. Lung Shiqi and the rest were all participants. They came to the resting room through a special passage, but the group was still separated. The 3 Sky Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderfire Dynasty and Lung Shiqi were in the same room. The 3 of them were Xian Haoying, the old man, and a Sky Origin Realm middle stage expert. It was a lady in a blue dress with a veil covering her face. She had an unapproachable look. On the way here, the old man transmitted a message to Lung Shiqi. This person was a rare female in the Imperial Consecration Hall. She was an expert in water element and was called Shui Lioli. Because Lung Shiqi was going to participate in the Sky Origin Realm battle, he was also arranged to be here. Taking advantage of the fact that there was still some time before the Thousand Spirit Gathering, the few of them started to chat. The old man muttered, "There are a total of 35 people in the Sky Origin Realm, and we have 4. Don't tell me we will meet in the first round." The probability of this was not small, but Xian Haoying said, "I have specifically asked about this. In the first round of the Sky Origin Realm battles, the 3 empires have a rule of avoidance. If we get an opponent from each empire, we could draw lots again." Following that, the few of them talked about the rules of the Thousand Spirit Gathering. There were no qualifiers for the Thousand Spirit Gathering, so there were tens of thousands of participants gathered in the martial field. If they were to fight one-on-one, who knew how long it would take? The Northern Wei Empire's method was to eliminate the sand with great waves. At this moment, there were dozens of towers in the center of the martial arts field, known as the Trial Towers. Over 1,000 people could enter the Tower of Trials at a time, and the time limit was 1 hour. Only the 10 people who could walk out of the Tower of Trials were qualified to enter the next round. It was said that there were many traps in the Tower of Trials, and there were even demonic beasts. Of course, the Northern Wei Empire would not allow the participants to die so easily. Therefore, there were some safe rooms in the Tower of Trials. As long as the participants entered the safe rooms, they would not be in any danger. Similarly, entering the safe room also meant that you had lost the chance to advance. After passing the Tower of Trials, all the low-level spirit cultivator would be finished in just a few rounds. The efficiency was extremely fast. However, the fluctuations from the battle between Unity of Heaven Realm and Heaven Origin Realm experts were too great. Moreover, there weren't many of them, so it wasn't suitable to use the Trial Tower. The Northern Wei Empire had used a miraculous item, the Mental Illusion Array, to prevent the Northern Wei Empire from attacking. When the two combatants walked into the illusory array, they would be able to create a scene and an illusion of themselves. In the illusory array, they would be able to imitate everything they had learned. Even their spirit weapons could be imitated. More importantly, the people outside would be able to watch the battle inside the array. To be able to watch the battle between Unity of Heaven Realm and Heaven Origin Realm experts was a rare sight. Everyone was looking forward to this. However, there were too many participants, and the Northern Wei Empire did not want the 1,000 Spirit Gathering to end too early. Therefore, they arranged a few Heaven Origin Realm battles every day as the finale. As the few of them chatted, time slowly passed. A portion of the low-level Spirit Cultivator, Spirit Pulse Realm, Spirit Aperture Realm, and Spirit Astral Realm battles ended. Finally, it was the Heaven Origin Realm's turn. The entire martial field's fiery atmosphere instantly reached its peak. Under everyone's gazes, the first pair of opponents was drawn out. Thunderous Blaze, Empire's King of the West, Lung Shiqi, versus Northern Wei Empire's Demon Execution Division, Wu Changyu. The Demon Execution Division was similar to the Discipline Division of the Thunderous Blaze Empire. The difference was that other than suppressing the Spirit Cultivator sex, the Demon Execution Division also had to guard the Northern Wastelands. In the Northern Wastelands, there were often many demonic beasts that came to harass them. There were even some demonic beasts with special abilities that sneaked in and caused trouble everywhere. The Demon Execution Division also had to deal with these demonic beasts. This Wu Changyu was the commissioner of the Demon Execution Division. He could be considered the second in command and had a Heaven Origin Realm middle stage cultivation. Wu Changyu was extremely famous in the Northern Wei Empire. He even had a glorious battle record of killing a 7th-level Great Demon by himself. Seeing that he was about to appear, everyone in the martial field immediately cheered loudly. As for Lung Shiqi, almost no one cared about him because no one knew him. The Thunderous Blaze Empire had registered him for the Heaven Origin Realm battle. Many big shots had secretly investigated him, but to a large number of low-level spirit cultivators, they did not have the qualifications. They only knew that Lung Shiqi was the Thunderous Blaze Empire's King of the West, and other than that, they did not know much. The highest level of the stands was filled with famous people. When they saw that the first battle was between Wu Changyu and Lung Shiqi, they all revealed a smile that everyone understood. They were very clear that Lung Shiqi was only at the unity of Heaven and Man realm. Although they knew that Lung Shiqi had defeated Elder Shao of the Six Directions domain and was very strong, Elder Shao had just entered the Heaven Origin realm a few years ago, while Wu Changyu was at the Heaven Origin realm middle stage. Furthermore, Wu Changyu was a battle maniac. He often went deep into the northern wastelands to fight with demon beasts. His battle strength was definitely at the peak of the same realm. No matter how strong Lung Shiqi was, he could not be stronger than Wu Changyu. In the end, the 1,000 Spirit Gathering was organized by the Northern Wei Empire. The first and most important battle naturally had to be arranged. The Northern Wei Empire had to win. As the saying goes, pick the soft persimmon to pinch. The only opponents that could guarantee victory were Lung Shiqi and Meng Tiantian. Meng Tiantian was from the 10,000 Laws mysterious sect. Compared to Lung Shiqi, the Thunderous Blaze, Empire's King of the West, and one of the 4 Dark Lightning Guards, Defeating Lung Shiqi in the first battle was equivalent to slapping the thunderous Blaze Empire's face. Of course, defeating him was the most worthwhile. As for whether or not he would be accused of bullying the weak, he was the one who insisted on fighting with a Heaven Origin Realm cultivator. Who else could he blame? Everyone should know about this King of the West. What a pity. Ha ha ha, it is indeed a pity. If he were to participate in the battle of the unity of heaven and man realm, with his strength, there would not be many who could be his opponent. Who asked him to not know what is good for him? He thinks that he is invincible after defeating a Heaven Origin Realm cultivator. Young people are still young people. The important figures all believed that Lung Shiqi would lose without a doubt and could not help but ridicule him. They did not deliberately hide their words, and these words were also heard by the nearby cultivators. Then, it quickly spread from 1 to 10 to 100. Only now did they know that Lung Shiqi was only at the unity of heaven and man realm. Chapter 851. The arena was in an uproar. More than 90% of the people present did not know about Lung Shiqi's battle record. When he stood on the stage, no one could tell his cultivation level. Whether it was unity of heaven or heaven origin, they were all existences that everyone looked up to. However, when they found out about Lung Shiqi's cultivation level, they were shocked. Heaven Origin was a super powerhouse that surpassed the 4 realms of heaven, and man unity of heaven was like an ant in front of a Heaven Origin powerhouse. This Lung Shiqi actually dared to fight a Heaven Origin powerhouse. Did he want to die? On the stage, Lung Shiqi ignored everyone and faced his opponent. Wu Chanyu of the Demon Slayers division was a little short and average looking. However, when he stood there, he felt like a volcano that was about to erupt. No one knew how powerful his body was. Waves of astonishing battle intent surged out from him. He did not underestimate Lung Shiqi. No matter how others looked at it, Wu Chanyu himself might not be able to defeat a Heaven Origin powerhouse in one strike. Maybe he could, but he would have to use all his strength. However, according to the information he received from Lung Shiqi easily defeated Elder Shao. Clearly, Lung Shiqi did not use all his strength. Therefore, he never underestimated Lung Shiqi from the beginning. The two walked into the illusory array. Lung Shiqi sat cross-legged on a piece of jade. Then, his spiritual body entered the illusory array, and a person that looked exactly like him appeared. The scenery around him had also turned into a barren land. In the distance, there were a few small hills rising and falling one after another. Lung Shiqi reached out and seemed to grab a wisp of air. It's almost the same as the outside world. This illusory array is not simple. I heard that you are very strong. I wonder how strong you are. Wu Chanyu's voice came. At this time, he had also entered an illusory body. He stood in the air and looked down at Lung Shiqi. You'll know when you try. Lung Shiqi stepped lightly and stood in the air. He did not control the elemental energy of heaven and earth. Instead, he used the law of Earth's anti-gravity. This scene was different in everyone's eyes. Those who did not know better would think that he had broken through to Heaven Origin. Because of this, the martial arts arena also caused a burst of exclamations. Inside the illusory array, Wu Changyu's expression froze. He had wanted to provoke Lung Shiqi with his words and attitude, but who would have thought that it would not work at all? Lung Shiqi's calmness and methods made him pay more attention to him. Buzz! A spiritual sword materialized in front of Lung Shiqi. It was the Class 8 Earth weapon, 1000 Illusion Dao sword. With a thought, a layer of scarlet golden flames appeared on the sword, and there seemed to be a dragon soul swimming within it. 1000 Illusion Dao sword, crimson gold, earth dragon flame, Wu Chanyu muttered. The 1000 Illusion Dao sword was a rank 8 earth weapon, and it was also the most precious treasure of the 1000 Illusion Sword sect. Even in the Heaven Origin realm, it was very rare to have a spirit artifact of this level. Heavenly Strange Flames were even rarer than rank 8 earth soldiers. Even though Wu Changyu already knew that Lung Shiqi had them, he still frowned when he felt the sword intent and the blazing flames. He waved his hands, and the surrounding origin energy of heaven and earth instantly condensed. He pointed a finger, and the power of this finger shook the void, containing an extremely violent power. Wu Changyu had spent his entire life fighting against demonic beasts. His spirit cultivation path could only be described in one word: battle. When fighting demons, those fancy spirit techniques were useless. The simpler and more violent the power, the more effective it was. Lung Shiqi's finger flicked the blade of the sword, and the Thousand Illusion Dao sword immediately let out an excited cry. In an instant, the sword roared, and the blazing flame sword intent roared out. The pure, violent finger energy collided with the crimson gold earth dragon sword, and immediately a powerful wave was produced. The power was enough to cover the sky, and the sky and the illusory array suddenly turned gray. If they were fighting in the capital of Wei, this kind of power could probably overturn the entire capital. The spectators outside the arena were also overturned. The first exchange was such a terrifying scene, and it was a feast for their eyes. But to the two people fighting, this level of attack was just a probing attack. In other words, they had not used their true strength. When the light dissipated, the two were indeed safe and sound. However, the two of them had different expressions. Lung 17 had a calm and collected look, while Wu Changyu had a grave and stern expression. He clawed down, and the origin energy of heaven and earth condensed into a giant hand print hundreds of feet large. It was wild and unstoppable. Lung Shiqi's Thousand Illusion Dao sword suddenly split into four. The power of earth, wind, water, and fire exploded. The surrounding void was torn apart, and endless life and death was contained within. It was extremely terrifying. The power of the four symbols was a kind of origin energy of a world, and it contained the Tao of life and death. At this time, it displayed the power to destroy the world. Lung Shiqi, who was in seclusion, did not give up on comprehending other powers. His understanding of the power of the four symbols deepened, and it became the four symbols Sword Tao. What he cared about was not how powerful the four symbols Sword Tao could be, but how to comprehend the power of the five elements. The power of the five elements had been troubling Lung Shiqi. After a long time, he thought of a shortcut. The four symbols of earth, water, and fire corresponded with the formless earth, water, and fire. He would integrate the power of the four symbols into the Sword Tao, and then use the four symbols Sword Tao to deduce the five elements Sword Tao and comprehend the power of the five elements. Of course, this was the ideal situation. Lung Shiqi did not know if it would succeed, but it was still a way. To him, the four symbols Sword Tao was purely a transition, but in Wu Changyu's eyes, it was very different. The four origin Tao swords circled around Lung Shiqi, and the terrifying four symbols sword intent made Wu Changyu's pupil shrink. How could this power be controlled by someone in the unity of heaven and man realm? Lung Shiqi moved his finger, and the four Tao swords whizzed out. Strange phenomena appeared in the world, and they strangled towards Wu Changyu. Facing the four symbols Sword Tao, Wu Changyu felt an unprecedented pressure. It was a pressure that not even a rank 7 great demon could give him. Wu Changyu was not afraid. On the contrary, his whole body was already burning with fighting spirit. The stronger Lung Shiqi was, the more powerful his fighting strength would be. Stepping out, a figure appeared behind Wu Changyu. The figure was like an ancient demon god, tearing the sky with his hands and crushing the earth with his feet. Punches after punches were thrown out, and each punch shook the illusion. The four Tao swords were blocked by the fish shadows, and each sword collided with dozens of fish shadows at the same time. The ear-piercing sound of the collision was deafening, and the explosion of spiritual power stimulated everyone's vision. Everyone kept exclaiming. This was a terrifying scene brought about by a battle between Sky Origin Realm experts. They had unknowingly forgotten that Lung Shichi's cultivation was only in the unity of heaven and man realm. The battle between the two naturally fell into the eyes of the other sky origin realm experts. The old man was the first to mutter, "Good fellow." He actually integrated the power of the four symbols into his sword Dao. No wonder this kid has not broken through to the sky origin realm. It turns out that he has a big plan. Xian Haoing nodded slightly. His Majesty's vision is indeed sharp. Lung Shichi's cultivation level in the future will probably surpass yours and mine. There is no need for the dynasty to restrict this kind of person. It is enough as long as he is willing to stand on the side of the dynasty. Even Xue Lioli, who had never spoken before, had a strange look in her eyes. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.